Welcome back, guys, everyone, to our next episode of MNC Hoops. We're so thankful to be back here live with you. And, of course, we're so thankful to have Nick with us this time, who was MIA last week. But, guys, welcome back. CJ, it's good to see you. Nick, how you doing?
Fantastic, man. I was excited. I mean, first and foremost, just because I missed last week, but also we got a lot to dive into, man. This might be the best week of basketball that I've ever experienced. And I'm trying to think about, for me, watching when I was a kid, to me growing up and everything, I don't think I've seen anything. I mean, we've seen great performances, but all in a span of 1 week is crazy. So, I'm just excited to talk about it.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely a great week of basketball. Yeah, man, let's get right to it, man. Let's waste no time.
He said, "Get it. Let's get right to it."
Hold on. First off, obviously SeatGeek sponsors for your first purchase. $20 off. Use the code MNC Hoops, all one word. A lot of things going on right now, so definitely take advantage of that, guys. Appreciate everybody stopping in. Let's get it.
Right, especially if you go to the Super Bowl coming up, use that promo code to save $20 on those seats. I'm sure they won't be that expensive.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's just go ahead and dive right into it because we've got a lot to cover. It's been a lot of crazy stuff. That's why I think it's been so good of a week for NBA. Even some college stuff went on, but we won't get into that. But yeah, let's just go straight to the first topic. Let's see. We got the Lakers and the Warriors. I think it was yesterday. Went with a double overtime thriller. Let me pull up this graphic I got here real quick and see what it does. Boom. There we go. Let's put us on this other side here. CJ, what'd you think about this game? You'll probably read some of the highlights there, but let's hear from you first on this.
Yeah, well, first off, it's Rivals Week. I think the NBA has done a great job in terms of marketing this, in terms of, setting up their schedule to have certain teams go up against each other, creating storylines, creating matchups to keep people watching the regular season. Obviously for the past few years, that's been a topic of discussion, I'm sure, amongst, league executives and things like that and networks. I think they've done a really good job. It's a really good job. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see. We saw Jokic versus Embiid last week, but we didn't see it this week. Embiid dug us some smoke, but yeah. So this is obviously one of the best rivalries in the last decade. LeBron versus Steph and Curry. We all know the history between these two players, the teams that they've been on, Cavs, Warriors, even Lakers, Warriors during the play-in, the first year of the play-in, they went at it. But in this game in particular, it's going back and forth. Two teams that really need, really need to get a W, really need to get some things going. Warriors were 19-23 at the time, and the Lakers were 23-23. So Warriors coming off a disappointing loss to the Kings on Thursday night. Steph Curry lost the ball in clutch time, which led to the Kings getting the W.
Hang on real quick, CJ, before you go on. We have to acknowledge that Steve Kerr had a timeout and he decided not to use it. I understand that. I understand the reason why not to use it, because you don't want the opposing team to make adjustments on defense. But on that occasion, you got to get a timeout. But you can go. Keep going.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah, I agree. I mean, listen, it's the Kings. They're not the best defensive team anyway. So, even if they did get their defense set, not necessarily means they was going to get the stop. But, yeah, that was a heartbreaker for Warrior fans and for the Warriors on that one. And in this game, it went back and forth between LeBron and Steph. I mean, LeBron, you see the numbers there, 36, 20, and 12. I mean, it's like, what are we really talking about? I mean, that's astronomical numbers from LeBron. Curry had a great game, 46 points, went back and forth, went into overtime. A lot of back and forth moments from both players. But ultimately, it came down to the wire. Lakers used the time, got a timeout. LeBron got the ball, drove to its right hand, got fouled, knocked down both free throws, and that was all she wrote. And it was another heartbreaking loss for Golden State at home at that. And it just goes to show how talented and how legendary both of these players are, still playing at a high level at this age. Steph Curry's 35, LeBron's 39, and you can't even tell. You can't even tell the way their ability to just continue to make an impact on their team. It's times where you see the situation, guys around this age, they're being carried, but both players are still carrying their teams to victories. And this is just another great matchup between two legends.
Yeah, I agree. The fact that we're in the year 2024 and we're still getting legendary matchups between LeBron James and Steph Curry is just incredible to me. It shows their dedication to the game, their dedication to be great, especially with them both being 35 or older. I think I saw a stat earlier today on SportsCenter, like this is like the first duel to have like, I can't remember exactly how many points, but like a certain amount of points as a duel at age like 35 or older. So it's just a testament to their greatness, man. And I gotta say, this in my opinion, I mean, there's been a lot of great games, and we're gonna dive into a lot of great individual performances later. But I think as an overall game, this has to be game of the year, if you ask me. And this really restored the feeling of what we saw back in 2015, 16, 17, 18, whatever it is, even the past few years, like CJ mentioned earlier, with the Lakers and the Warriors meeting in the in-season tournament, and then obviously them meeting last year in the playoffs in the second round. So I think what it shows to me is that, and there's a lot of great players, but I don't think anybody's taken Steph and LeBron's spot for a little while now, because I don't know, it's like nobody brings this feeling like they do, like when they go head to head. And I mean, we've definitely had some other head to head matchups, with a lot of the younger guys, obviously, whether it's Jokic or Embiid or SGA and Anthony Edwards or whoever it is, man. But to see these LeBron and Steph Curry matchups and for them to still be as high level as they've been is just incredible to me, man. So, kudos to the Lakers for the win. Kudos to LeBron for hitting those 2 free throws. I'll be honest, man, I didn't even want the game to end. Like, that's how much I was enjoying it. Obviously, I think it was the first, or I think it was regulation going into overtime. Obviously, Steph hit the game winning or the game tying layup to force OT. Clay ended up hitting the corner 3 to tie the game up after the first overtime. And then Steph had actually hit a big 3 in the second overtime at the top of the key to put him ahead. Then obviously LeBron got fouled, which I mean, kind of controversial to me, because it did look like he traveled a little bit when he was going into the lane. But, it is what it is at the end of the day. Superstars are going to get the call every time. But also give kudos to Bron, because Bron has always, I'm not going to say he's been a horrible free throw shooter throughout his career. He's always been kind of on and off. But in those pressure situations, being able to knock down 2 huge threes was big. So kudos to them. Kudos to the Lakers. I know that they've been trying to find themselves as a recent. It seemed like they're playing a lot better from what they did, probably 2-3 weeks ago. So hopefully, this is just another indication of them, possibly trying to get back on the right track.
Excuse me. As far from me, yeah, it was a great game. I mean, LeBron getting 20 rebounds, I think it was, with that is phenomenal.
I didn't even mention that's crazy.
Yeah, for his age, what he's doing with even AD there as well.
Played 48 minutes too.
48 minutes, 28 points. Oh, I'm sorry. 48 minutes, 36 points, 20 rebounds, 12 assists on 14 of 25 shooting. That's really not bad shooting as well. Of course, he was 6 from 6 from the free throw. Yeah, it's just a really good game to watch on this. Just the watch the two, honestly, if you will, of this decade, the godfathers of the NBA for us, to still battle it out and see that they still got it, they can still play. And they're not even really showing any signs of falling off. I mean, yeah, there's some fatigues and whatnot on that, but I mean, look at the scores that they did. So that's great. Even Anthony Davis, what did he have? He had 29 points, 13 rebounds, only 3 assists, but still.
Thought he got hurt in the third quarter.
Yeah, but still, surprised. Well, we'll see if he plays. But anyways, so yeah, wonderful game to see what he did here. I'm sorry, talking about LeBron and of course Steph Curry. They're the NBA still. Although I do want to ask this, and we'll just kind of be brief on it. If we didn't have LeBron and Steph, who do you all think this would be, this matchup?
What do you mean,
like
LeBron
playing?
and Steph aren't in the league right now. Who would we be thinking? Hey, this is the league passed on to.
Probably the Joker, or actually, I mean, not even them. Kevin Durant's still in the league, so can't ever count him out.
But I don't really feel like KD has yin and yang person, his counterpartner or whatnot, as far as like a rival. Like to me, it's.
I mean,
really,
KD and LeBron had some good matchups in the past, and I mean, even this year they still have some good.
LeBron. It was supposed to be LeBron, but it was supposed to be his rival was supposed to be LeBron, but KD went and joined Golden State and just messed everything up. So
yeah,
messed everything up.
But no, listen. To answer your question, I think it's tough to say because no one else besides LeBron and Curry in the NBA have the personality to really like be the face of the league and really carry the A for so long. LeBron obviously has been the face of the league pretty much since he's been drafted, and then for Curry, I want to say like around 2013 was definitely he hit the global stage for sure. And then just last thing for me on both of these teams, I think for Golden State, they got to figure some things out. They're gonna have to do some things at the trade deadline.
No, call it what it is, CJ. It's over. Like it's time.
It's time, but it's like what? But what do you do? That's the thing. What's the move that's going to be made? You're just gonna not make a move throughout the whole season for the rest of the season.
Well, if only we weren't stubborn and we would have traded Kuminga to get Pascal, that would have been great. Because I mean, at least from what I saw, the report was they were asking for Jonathan Kuminga, and I think they should have did it personally. I mean, I know that Kuminga doesn't match up with Pascal, but Kuminga has shown us that that he has that he's grown in value. So I would have me personally, I would have done it. You know what I'm saying? Especially if it would have put them back in the conversation as a contender, because at this stage, the Warriors should not be playing for the next 3 to 4 years. Like, we have to be able to play from now because Steph Curry is 35, 36 years old and still playing at the highest level. It's the same thing with the Lakers. Like, the Lakers need to be in contention right now because their best player is 39 years old and will be 40 at the end of this year. So, like, I feel like the situations are just totally different from other teams to where other teams can say, hey, let's just continue to keep building for the next 2 to 3 years. Like, no, I mean, I think the window for the Warriors has to be right now if they want to do anything.
Yeah, it's definitely a difficult situation for you guys, and to be honest, you guys don't have great perimeter defense.
Now with GP2 out, unfortunately.
GP2 out, but even still, he plays bigger than his size, but he's still undersized. Clay and Wiggins, they're just not bringing it defensively. And then I think Clay. I mean, this is Clay last year in the Golden State Warrior uniform. I truly believe that. You got to clear up some cap space. You guys are extremely over the luxury tax, so I think you need to bring somebody in there that's younger and that could do a little bit more off the dribble and take some of the pressure off of Steph in certain situations. And I think, listen, man, like you got to try to find a true center, like a true rim protecting center. I mean,
I've been saying this for like the last 3 years.
And that's what I was about to say. You guys kind of got away with not really having a true big. And I know you guys had McGee for a cup of coffee, and Bogut was there here and there during the early run.
Sure,
but
yeah.
you need size. You need size, and Draymond's 35 years old. Like he's not blocking shots. He's not an elite rim protector. And honestly, for me, for Draymond, it's like, bro. I mean, you're averaging 9 points. You can't average 15 points in the NBA. I mean, I just don't get it. I just don't get it. I mean, how are you that content just averaging 9 points? All the you're making $25 million a year. You're supposed to be. I get it. But defensively, this guy's never worked on his offensive game ever. He's just completely relied on Steph and Clay.
He's a point forward, man.
I get it, man. But it comes to a point you got to improve your game, especially on offense. This guy, he
a set shot,
and guys are and teams leave him open because he can't shoot. So why is that something that he's not working on? It's probably too late. It's probably too late now. He's already stuck in his ways.
Yeah, no, it's not. Yeah, it ain't gonna happen now.
Yeah, so that's the thing that was always alarming to me. How he just never worked on his offensive game. Never. Like, what are you doing in the offseason? But so yeah, I think you guys need some young wing perimeter players, and you guys need a big man. I mean, again, Steph's still playing at a high level, thank God. But you got to make sure that you maximize those years. And then for the Lakers, it's just been a big discussion right now: trade D'Lo or not trade D'Lo.
See, that's the thing. Like, D'Lo is the most confusing player ever to me because it's either he can have a solid game. Like, I mean, let's be real. Last night against Golden State, he played phenomenal. But then he'll have those moments where he can't make a shot to save his life. So then it's like, oh, man, like they need to trade D'Lo. He's not valuable. But then it's like when he is playing at a high level, he's a big difference on the court.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. He's such a, he's very talented. He does great things well. And it's tough to really judge him right now. Is he playing well because he knows he might get traded? So he wants to play well. And then, after the trade deadline, does he kind of come back to where he was before, these last couple of weeks? Is real tricky. You just got to hope he continues that mindset of continuing to stay aggressive because they need that consistent third scoring option on the Lakers. I mean, it's imperative. It's right there for any of those guys, Hachimura, Russell, Reeves. I mean, it's there for the taking. Right now, D'Lo is capitalizing on that opportunity. But throughout the season, and throughout the rest of the season into the playoffs, he has to bring that same tenacity. If they even want to have a chance to even sniff in the conference finals, which right now I don't even see. And you got LeBron and AD relatively healthy. I mean, they're not even missing a bunch of games, but they're still one game over 500. So that speaks to the West, and it also speaks to the inconsistencies on the players from the players around them. So they got both teams who, have Hall of Fame, top 10 all-time players in terms of their team. They got a lot to figure out.
I agree. And speaking of some other team or some other players through this week that had great nights offensively, we'll just go ahead and kind of bring up a point here, is Embiid and Luka dropped 70 or 70 plus, and Cat and Book, some Kentucky guys, unfortunately gets overshadowed with their 60 points. 60
overshadowed. They should have finished the game.
We say different things, but, we bring up here's the graphic. Let me see if I can see it here. Luka 73, Joel Embiid had 70, Devin Booker with 62, and Cat with 62 as well. Both my Kentucky guys takes up the L's in these games. But Nick, we'll start with you. What did you think about these performances or these games?
I didn't watch the Embiid game live. I had just gotten home, and then I got a notification on ESPN. It says Joel Embiid had 70 in a win over San Antonio. I was like, what? And then I had to go back and check everything out. I had to go back and check the stats. Then I saw something that Cat had 44 at halftime. And I'm like, yo, what is going on? And keep in mind, this is the 18th anniversary of Kobe dropping 81. So it's kind of ironic how a lot of this is going down like on this historic day. So, and then on top of that, I mean, that was a pretty good day as well, because I think Wemby had like 33, 34 points in that matchup as well. Obviously getting overshadowed by Embiid. Giannis had a triple-double, I believe it was. So, I mean, it was a pretty good overall night, man. But, I think it's just an indication to me that I keep saying that Embiid is the best offensive big in the NBA, and I don't think it comes close, and it's not a knock to anybody else. But, that man is like a 7-footer and moves like a guard. Like, I'm watching how this guy get to his spots in the mid-range, how he's how he shows his post presence. He's just being able to score in a multitude of ways. And, I think people got to say that's probably Wemby's. I know that we're in January, but it's probably got to be Wemby's welcome to the NBA moment. And I think that's something that he's got to reflect on, throughout the next few years whenever he does interviews or podcasts or anything. So, it was a dope performance, man. Shout out to Embiid, man. Obviously, I want to say he's still in contention for MVP. I don't think he's missed that many games yet, but, he's clearly making that case right now. You gotta honor it. Same thing with Cat. Luckily, NBA TV actually put that game on, or actually put the fourth quarter on. So I started watching, and it was like, I'm like, Cat had like 56, 57 points at the time, and the Wolves were only up by a point. And I'm like, how on earth? Like, what is going on here? And then somehow, some way, Terry Rozier happened, LaMelo Ball happened, Brandon Miller happened, and then they were able to finish that game. Kind of ironic. It was Terry Rozier's last game with the team, and then he got traded the next day. But, even though they did take the L, it was still a great overall performance from Cat as a whole. And then, now I was able to watch this one right here. I was able to watch the Hawks and the Mavs. And Luka was cooking, bro. Like, I've always known Luka to be a killer, but this was crazy. And people got to keep in mind, too, this is the same team that drafted him in 2018. So I don't know if there was some motivation behind that. But I'll be honest, man. I think also, I mean, obviously Luka definitely shined, but it was just another indication that the Hawks are just a terrible defensive team. And it's crazy to think because they got guys like DeJounte Murray and others, but they just don't make it happen on defense. I mean, the final score of that game was like what 148 to like 142 or something like that. And I don't even think it went into overtime. I think it was like just regulation, which is absolutely crazy. But no, I mean, kudos to Luka, man. He was just sensational, man. I mean, and everybody would say, "Oh man, he might get 70," and I'm like, "There's no way we get 2 70-point games in 1 week." And then when he got it, I was like, "Yo, like this is absolutely crazy." So that's why to me, I gotta say this has to be the greatest week of basketball I've ever experienced, man. Like for us to be able to get those type of performances in 1 week is just incredible.
But you, CJ?
I'll start with Embiid. Just incredible performance. Listen, Wembanyama, that brother got to get in the gym. He has to get in the gym, man. Got to get in the weight room, and also I know it's his rookie season, so I guess you could kind of give him a little bit of a pass, but you got to get in the weight room, brother. You can't let a man go in there and put 70 on 70, like KD said. That's just insane.
That was hilarious of that KD interview.
And that's what he's able to do. Just similar to what Nick said. I mean, he's just one of the best scoring bigs of all time. He's going to go down as one of the best scorers of all time for sure. Gifted, elite 3-level scorer, dominant. When he's taking less threes and going and working more in the mid range in the paint area, he's going to be unstoppable. I mean, there really isn't. There's no dominant center defensively. I guess you could say Gobert, but people don't really fear Gobert. You know what I mean? Even though he's a 3-time defensive player of the year, but nobody fears him, in my opinion. Even though he does bring impact, but he's not that. To me, he's not like Olajuwon or Mutombo type guy. So, just the center play in today's NBA is garbage, in my opinion. And so, when you have someone as gifted as Embiid, I mean, he's pretty capitalizing off of it. I mean, this is why he's averaging 36, 37 in the regular season. He's going to win another scoring title because there's just no way you could stop him. There's really no way to stop him. The mid-range, the post moves, I mean, it's just – and then the Spurs, obviously the Spurs, they're a joke of a franchise right now. They're not playing any defense. But, for him to capitalize on that, it just speaks to his talent. I mean, he's going to go down as one of the best. But the regular season stuff is cool, and what he's doing right now is cool. But if he's not doing this in the playoffs, what does it really mean? It's just like Lamar Jackson that we saw this Sunday. You can put up great regular season stats. That's cute. But if you don't step up in the playoffs and make your name in the playoffs, that's where legends are made. Legends are made in the playoffs. So we need to have these type of performances from him in the postseason, not just in the regular season. Not 70, but definitely high-scoring games because there's really no one in the East that can stop him one-on-one at all. And Luka, I mean, it's just really going to get down to our next topic, but what were the Hawks doing? I mean, it's just a turnstile damn near every possession. Now he was getting some tough shots. He's going to make some tough shots. He's one of the best young players you've ever seen. He's one of the best scorers, one of the best players. But just the defense from Atlanta, they're supposed to have a defensive-minded head coach in Quinn Snyder. It's just no effort, really no effort from anybody on the team. Like once a guy is getting like 40 in like two quarters, like where's the pride from the team collectively at halftime? Like, we can't let this guy go off on us on our home floor. Like, who's gonna step up and be like, I got him. Let me guard him. Let's trap. Let somebody else beat us. To step in there and let this man score 70 on your home floor. I mean, that really speaks to the lack of effort and mentality and mental toughness from the Atlanta Hawks. I mean, there's no other way to slice it. There's really no other way to put it. But Luka's a great player, dominant player, and as expected. I mean, this week has been crazy for scoring. And for him to get 70, just like Embiid got 70, look at the international game, how both of these guys are coming from overseas, making a name for themselves, and just dominating the league. And they both said it's easier to score in the NBA than it is overseas. So they're just capitalizing on their word. And then for Cat and Book, Cat Cal has all the talent in the world. I mean, he scored 61, I think, last year or the year before, and he had 58 and 3/4. I mean, I really thought he was going to get 80. Truthfully, I thought he was going to get there around 80, but just trying to do too much. And 34-14 discrepancy between the Hornets and the T-Wolves in that fourth quarter, and then that was the game right there. Did he get fouled?
Was that the fourth quarter score? 34-14.
34-14.
Ew, what?
Yeah.
After you dropped 58 through 3?
Yeah,
come on, Cat. It's nasty.
They were force feeding Cat. Again, because listen, you get 58 and 3/4. Obviously, 70 plus right around the corner. But for him, he only scored 4 points in the fourth. And man, even said it after the game. They were trying to make history. They were doing too much. Chris Finch was pretty much dogged the team for saying lack of defense and things like that. But I mean, you're dogging the team, but you're the head coach of the team. You could have called the timeout, told these guys, let's forget the 80 or the 70. Let's win the game. We are playing the Hornets here at home. Like, what are we doing? It's not like this is one of the best teams in the NBA.
We're the 1 seed in the West.
Yeah, we're the best, one of the best defensive teams in the league. So that's honestly, this is what we've seen from the T-Wolves. A couple years ago too, when they played the Grizzlies in the playoffs, they collapsed in the fourth quarter. But it's one game. I'm not going to completely, roast Minnesota. They are having a really good year, but that was definitely a tough game for them. And then and D-Book, same thing. I mean, defensively, they're just not there. They're just not there. They don't have a guy in the middle. They don't have an elite perimeter defender. So they're going to have to outscore teams. That's their game. Our players are better offensively than yours, and we just got to get enough stops to win the game when it hits triple zeros in the fourth quarter. That's how they play. And the way Booker's playing right now, I mean, he's on the tear. I mean, he's had, multiple 50-point games, multiple 40-point games over the last 7 or 8 games. I think he had 52 tonight. So 62 in the L. Obi Toppin had a tip in. I mean, you look at the end of that game, nobody boxes out. Just disgusting. You had 3 Phoenix Suns right there in the paint. Toppin comes from the corner and tips it in. When you got 3 Phoenix Suns there, like, why? Are you supposed to box out? Like, these guys make millions of dollars but don't know how to box out in the NBA. Kind of sad. But it is what it is. The game was right there. You can't, when you have a guy, put up a performance like that, you have to win the game. You have to win the game. That seals it. That puts the stamp on it. But nonetheless, like Nick says, it was a great week of scoring, and I think it goes right into our next topic.
Yes, definitely.
Hang on, right? Just right before
ahead.
we go into our next topic, I just want to say something, man. It's so funny how this week made me realize that people don't forget anything. So Cat scores 62, and then I got people coming to me like, what did Chris Middleton do tonight? Referring to our Chris Middleton argument that we had this past summer. And when I'm talking about everybody, I'm talking about one particular person. I'm talking about you, Nubs. You got to stop harassing me on Twitter, bro. Stop, man.
So
I try to just let that one. I try to just let that one. I don't talk about that anymore, bro. But you good?
No,
it happens, Yeah. Well, how close did you say they were?
I don't remember. Let's just move on at this point.
Okay. All right. I don't blame you on that one. So Embiid and Luka go over 70. Cat and Booker over 60. We had LeBron with his points that he had with his rebounds, of course. Steph, all he did, I think he had 9 threes. We talked about this week.
Actually, hang on real quick before we go into this topic again. So let me ask you this because
I just built that up so well.
I know. I know. I have to ask you this. So after all these performances, there's been a lot of people predicting that we may see an 80-point game soon, or we may possibly see another 100-point game. So how soon do y'all think that'll happen? Because I think at this rate, I'm like, we just might see a 100-point game in our lifetime. I mean, obviously, Wilt did it in the 60s. None of us were born, so none of us were able to experience that. But there may be a possibility. I mean, I'm talking about all of us, but none of us were born at the time. But I think, honestly, I can't knock that possibility that we may be able to experience that.
I personally don't think 100 points will be done. I mean, 100.
I mean, we're about to get into this topic about defense. So
right. I do think 80 is possible. We just had, and I was looking up on my phone when you said Charlotte, because I was thinking of Dame's 71 that he had last year. And I was thinking it was against Charlotte, but it was against the Rockets. So I was trying to look it up, make sure.
Mitch had a 70-point game too against Chicago. Yeah, Chicago.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're hitting 70s now. I don't think 100 will happen in the next. Okay. I don't think it'll happen until they put in a 4-point play. I'll say that for 100. Now 80, I do think we'll possibly will get it soon. I hope they don't put in a 4-point play or a 4-point shot. But I'm going to say as long as there's no 4-point shot, I don't think there's going to be 100 in a realistic game.
I don't think they need
Globetrotters. They
I mean, you also got to think, and I know that it was a different era, but when Will scored 100, there was no 3-pointers.
No 3-pointers, yeah.
So it was all.
If they had a 4-point play, you guys gonna have to find a new host because I would stop watching. No, I'm dead serious. Like that. What's the point?
It won't happen. I don't think it'll happen.
You think they'll add a 4-point play, a 4-pointer?
I mean, they've talked about it. I mean, they've already got one in the 3-on-3 and stuff like that.
No, that'll be disgusting for the league.
I think so too. But
do I think somebody could score 100? I think yeah, I think so. I think Embiid could get it for sure. Again, this is going right to what we're about to talk about. So
that's all I'm saying. Yeah,
might as well just wait for to make my point.
So, is defense a lost art in today's NBA?
I think it is because, one, the way the game is officiated, you just look at the calls. These guys, I mean, you sneeze on a player, it's a foul. The league is publicly came out, Adam Silver has publicly came out and said they want to favor offense over defense. So that, I mean, that's it right there. And the topic now, but listen, it's that, and it's also the way guys are being coached. And I know these guys are coaching in the NBA. It's like, oh, look at you, you're just a guy with the podcast. What do you know about basketball? But I know a little bit. And I definitely know that defense is an effort thing, and it's also how it's up to your coach to hold the players accountable, especially on that side of the court. And I do know the game is definitely called differently than it was in the 80s and the 90s. I only mentioned 80s and the 90s because 60s and 70s is tricky. I mean, it was different. It was a different game. It was just a different time. So I just count the 80s and 90s to and on, in like the 2000s. So, yeah, I think it is. I think defensively, there aren't a lot of great bigs in the league at all. I mean, outside of Jokic and Embiid, name me another dominant big. Now, we expect Wembanyama to be that guy. I do think he'll be that guy over time.
Sure,
but if he thinks he's going to be able to get by for what happened?
Dominating.
I said DeAndre Ayton. Come on, man.
Stop it.
Dominating. That's what he calls
Did you see? And I'm sure you guys seen it because Nick, I think you live on Twitter. But the bigs from the 90s, I think it was, had a picture of Karl Malone and Shaq flexing their arms out and just how big they were as far as muscular. And it said today's big, and it had Wemby and I want to say it might have been Chet. I can't remember. And it's just comparing. Bigs back then meant something completely different than today.
I mean, people got to remember Orlando Shaq. I mean, he not saying that he didn't have muscle, but he wasn't as big as he became to be. Like the Lakers Shaq and Orlando Shaq were two totally different guys.
Yeah, but like you said, he was much bigger, much more muscular than.
Oh yeah, I get it. Than Wemby and these other guys. Yeah,
much more dominant, actually using his size. These guys rather just stand at the 3-point line and cry. You got 7-foot guys crying for foul calls, bro. It's insane. So that's one thing. The interior defense is dirt in today's NBA. Guys aren't blocking shots. Guys don't know how to rebound properly. They don't know how to box out. Everybody just looks at the rim and thinks they can higher than everybody to get a rebound. No fundamentals. So
I'm so glad you said that. Thank you.
Yeah. Fundamentals. There's a lack of fundamentals in the NBA. And again, like I said, the perimeter defense is disgusting, in my opinion. Is there only really a handful of guys that really pride themselves on defense on the perimeter. So, yeah, do I think it's a lost art? I do. I believe so. And I was having this debate with one of my boys on Twitter. It was like, he was saying he doesn't think that the scorers in the 80s and the 90s, or the 80s and the 90s would be able to, still be able to score as much as they did or score more in today's NBA. And I'm like how could you say that?
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
And I was like, how can you say that? One, because of the spacing in today's league, and also the way the game is called. Like, the game is called much differently today than how it was back in the day. So I do believe it's a lost art. I'm not saying when I say defenses, how defenses played back in the day, I mean just a little bit more physicality. I don't mean hitting guys and when the guys go up. Yeah, I don't say when guys go up in the air, hit them with elbows. That's not the type of defense I'm talking about. Being physical, refs, letting guys play a little bit more. Offensive guys playing through contact, finishing around the rim, letting it show that it's still a tough man's game, as opposed to it got to a point now where you see the offensive players and they had to put a rule in place to stop players from manipulating the call. Like Trae Young, James Harden, all these guys used to do. As soon as you touch it, they'll just go up and try to shoot the ball. Like, oh, I was shooting. I was in the act of shooting. No, you weren't. I mean, you just tried to manipulate a call so you could get to the free throw line. That wasn't. They had to put that rule in. They had to put that rule in to stop players from doing that. So what does that say about how the game is being played today? So I do believe it's a lost art.
Nick, what about you?
I do as well. I agree with CJ. I'll be honest. I grew up in the era. I just remember I was young, like 6, 7 years old. I just remember watching the Indiana Pacers and the Detroit Pistons just go head to head, and the final scores were like 85-75. Like, those were matches that obviously it wasn't a lot of offense, but those were the best matches because teams were locked in defensively, whether it was Chauncey Billups locking in defensively, Rip Hamilton locking in, Ben Wallace, Big Ben, or on the other side, Jermaine O'Neal, who else on that team, Meta World Peace. A lot of those guys, especially back then, they took pride on the defensive end, and I think that's something that we also got to see as well. As just more teams and players taking pride on the end as well. I think we're in an era now where it's like, let me just outshoot you, or let me just outscore you in order to win, but back then, it was just, we really had a lot of great defensive players. Like, a lot of great players were known as defensive players. Michael Jordan was an elite defensive player. Kobe Bryant was an elite defensive player. Even LeBron, I know people get on LeBron, but I remember Bron in Miami used to get after it defensively. So, I think what it is, I think it's also a team thing as well. I think that coaches and teams should prioritize in defense, but I think it should be just a pride thing as well, saying, hey, I don't, hey, I got this match. Like let's say, for instance, let's say we get, I don't know, Jason Tatum against Luka Doncic. One of those guys need to say, okay, I'm going up against this guy. He can be like, this guy's an elite scorer. If we give him any type of momentum, he's going to get 40. So guess what? I'm going to take on that task of guarding him because I want to make sure that I have the edge in this matchup. And I also want to make sure that my team comes out with a win. So it's just certain things like that I want to see more of. And I think that, and I'm not saying that we don't get it, but I don't think we see a lot of it. And like, if there's one thing that I want more, I just wish that teams of players just took more pride on defense because, when there's defense added to the game, it just makes things a lot more competitive and it makes things more exciting. I mean, it's cool to see guys get 50, 60. It's cool to see guys, or see teams, score a whole bunch of points. But when it gets down to the nitty gritty, and, down to the crucial plays of the game, we want to see who was able to make that big stop. So that's just something that I want to see more.
I'll say for at least myself, I know we're talking about the NBA, but I know you guys probably see me eating. I'm trying to eat some fruit because I played some basketball. Y'all have heard me the past 3 or 4 weeks. I've been trying to play. Felt a little bit better today, so I'm able to move. So I'm afraid I'm cramp because I did way more than I usually do. But at my level of backyard ball, if you will, I've got – I don't want to say too many names. I'm not going to say names. But I've got the younger generation. We played a 3-2 today against the team because the team that we were matched up on were more shooters. They didn't have no big guys, so nobody was going to the post. We're like, okay, let's do this so we can get out there. Just watch the corners. Excuse me. I literally had one person on my team was my brother, who's older than I am, and the rest of my team were under 25. And all 3 of the other guys had to ask me how to play a 3-2 defense. I'm like, what do you mean? How do you play a 3-2? You must be not watching CJ versus the World on YouTube because they got that 3-2 locked down or a 1-2 too. And I literally, me as big as I am, had to play at the top of the 3-2 so I could tell my wings, hey, you over here, okay, we switch, and constantly I had to talk more from the top to let everyone know. And I know we're talking NBA, but here's the thing. If you go to your local arenas or whatever, YMCA, you can see there's no defense being played there. You can watch AAU and see that actually teaching the fundamentals, I'm getting back to what CJ said there earlier on, I guess defense. They don't care about teaching it at this younger age. They just want to win those games. And it kills me that the fundamentals on offense and defense, the rotations, the slides, and everything at this young age aren't properly taught because they'd rather go to an AAU tournament and win. Like I've actually seen games where instead of playing a man-to-man or a zone defense, they left one guy already back cherry picking. So they played 4-on-5 defense just to try to score quick. That's teaching you nothing about basketball, and it kills me. Now, granted, these NBA players are not on that level. We know that. But how many times have you seen a switch, a transition, a sliding, and the guy that is shooting the passing lane, I'm sure you guys have been taught if you're shooting the passing lane, you're supposed to reach out with your front hand because it makes you longer to deflect that. How many times have you seen the NBA where they turn to their body and they're reaching out with the shorter hand? And you're just like, wait, why are they not learning this or being taught this or know how to do that? And it's just like the whole fundamentals and like the 101 of the defense is not there anymore. Now, I'm sure you guys have heard this. JJ Redick, he had like a little segment that he talked about on one of his podcasts that the defense or the NBA doesn't want defense and they don't do defense anymore. And he was actually saying that they've made rules against the offense to try to stop it. He's like, yes, there's still defense. I'm like, dude, you can say that all you want, but that is just garbage. He was talking about how if you do the active shooting, they don't call it a free throw on that because, like you were saying, they're manipulating the calls. And he was trying to say that there's so many rules that's been towards offense to try to slow it down. You don't have 140-point games if it's actually about defense. I'm just going to say. So, I don't know, man. I like that we shoot threes. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to be like an old head here, but I feel like the three-point line, the analytics, the statistics made people almost get away from the defensive side because it's like, hey, try to scramble, get a turnover. It doesn't matter if they score a 2 as long as we keep them from shooting a 3. And then let's go shoot a 3, and we'll probably win the game statistically. So I don't know, man. It's just blowing my mind because how do we go from having these big dominant players? I know Steph Curry is part of the change, but to basically being gone, and it's just someone who can run up and down the court as fast as your guards and sky for an alley-oop or just help defense block on a layup on the weak side and help over. It's just crazy to me. Do I stand alone on that take? Maybe, but I don't care. Y'all agree?
Yeah, just a 3-point. I mean, yeah, I agree. These teams, there's a lot of teams in the NBA that shouldn't be attempting as many threes as they do. People, it's a copycat league. It really is. These teams, they see one team win one way, and they think, oh well, let's do what they did. But you got to have the right personnel to be able to.
You say that. They copied the big three for a minute. After LeBron did it, won it in Miami, everyone tried to put their big three together. And then after Steph won it for a few years there, everyone's went to the high pace, shoot the three, and everyone can run and shoot from anyone, the positionless basketball. So, yeah.
Because they feel like, if I take a lot of threes, ultimately it'll end up being more than taking a bunch of twos. Like if they think it's a math game. And I understand that, but it's like, again, you have to have the right personnel. Every team can't play the way Golden State could play because every team doesn't have a Stephen Curry and a Klay Thompson. They don't have a Draymond Green to put the basketball, in the right positions for those guys to get easier shots. Like it's just you can't build you have to build your team based on how the roster that you have. And again, that's why I said it goes back to bad, not even just bad coaching, but also just bad executives. Because you're like, oh, this is how Golden State won the chip. Well, let's play this way. But you don't have anybody like that. So I do agree. I think with these big men shooting threes, they completely forgot how to do the things that they were able to do in terms of being dominant and using their size on the post. This is why a guy like Jokic, I think will win multiple. I'd be shocked if he doesn't win multiple. I think he'll win multiple championships. And when I say multiple, I say three or more, because
in his career, the next 5 years, what do you think there?
I mean, I would say in his career. I'll just say in his career, but definitely. I mean, he's 29 right now, so within the next 5 years, can he win 2 more? I believe so, because there really isn't anyone in the league that can stop him in the paint. It's not one guy. I mean, again, Draymond is 6'7", Jokic is 6'11", 280, with elite footwork and elite skill. This is why I want to see Embiid versus Jokic in the finals, because what I think it will do is it would bring. And teams will copy. They will copy they'll copy that. We need to go get a dominant big that can play inside out, do a multitude of things. Now you'll have the versatility. Wemby and Chet, they're kind of like a hybrid. To me, they're like more of KD than Embiid and Jokic. To me, they're just a little bit. Yeah, they're just a little bit. They're just taller versions of KD. That's how I view Wemby and Chet.
And Bol.
I don't put.
Okay, Shaq. Okay, Shaq.
Yeah, I don't put that guy in that category. He doesn't have the mentality.
Hey, the potential's there.
He's been in the league for 6 years, so I don't even mention
Steph
that guy.
Quite a long.
What happened?
So I said Steph was in the league quite a long time before he took off.
Yeah, he's not a dog. He's not a dog.
I wouldn't say that. Steph peaked at like year 3, year 4.
Bobo's not a dog, man. He's not a dog, plain and simple. When you play the center position, you got to play with an edge. He doesn't play that way. His pops play with an edge. His pops wasn't like one of the greatest bigs of all time, but he made plays, use his height, use his size. He doesn't play that way. He doesn't. It's clear. Ayton, same thing. He doesn't play with an edge. When you say I'm a max player, I have nothing else to prove.
My God, that takes me off. I'm sorry. Oh my God.
When you say that, I mean that's that's everything you need to know. You pretty much saying.
Oh my God.
That's everything you need to know about him, bro. Like
you're right. I'm done with it.
No all NBAs, no All-Star appearances. Just I got my money. That's pretty much. And I'm glad he's honest. I respect the honesty.
Hey, but guess what?
A lot of guys don't say anything.
But see, this is the thing is that I remember Andrew Bynum had that same type of mentality as well. Like, I don't really care. I'm just getting my bread and everything. And then look, he got traded from the Lakers to I think Philly it was, and then we never heard from him again. And it was crazy too because Bynum was a great player. Yeah,
he was a great player because Kobe brought that out. Kobe, Phil Jackson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who was an assistant coach at the time. There was no excuses. Like he couldn't be lackadaisical around Kobe. He couldn't be lackadaisical around Phil and Paul Gasol. Those guys expected more than the bare minimum. So that's why when he went to another team, he wasn't the same player. But yeah, like just back to the original comment, man. In terms of lost NBA and the lack of skill positions at the big position, lack of skill at the big position. It's just what it is. And in terms of international play, looking at the Olympics, we're always gonna win because we're more talented and we're more athletic. But there will come a time when the European guys, they will match our athleticism. And, once they match our athleticism on top of the skill and fundamentals, that'll be the time when USA, the American basketball, that's when they'll be humbled for real. Once these guys become more once more Luka Doncic, Embiid, and Jokic, once they start developing more of those guys within one country, because remember, all those guys just one guys in one country. We have a whole bunch of guys in one, and that's what I'm saying. We outweigh them when it comes to quantity in the country. But in terms of once there's going to be a country that comes around that's going to have some talented, skilled guys internationally, and they're going to be just as athletic, and they're going to dominate us because they have the skill, the way they cut to the basket, they use their size, use mismatches. So I think it's just the way the game is going today. It's unfortunate in terms of the NBA, but it's obviously not going to change because the league favors scoring, they favor offense. And if you want to see true basketball and true defense being played, we got to wait till the postseason because that's when the refs kind of tone it down when it comes to the whistle.
Sorry, I was trying to look up. I was listening, I promise.
No, you're good,
but just listening to you talk about another country having these players, I'm really big, and I was wanting to see what country he's from, but I forgot he's from Australia. He's possibly going to be the number 1 overall pick in this new NBA draft coming up in 2024. I don't know if you've heard his name, Alex Sarr.
Alex Sarr? No, I haven't heard of him.
He's 7'1". He's basically a skyscraping wing at the center spot, pretty much. He's going to be another Wemby, basically, coming in. They have him at one point. They projected him at 1 very early, and then they moved him back to, I think he's 4 through 7 now. But I'm in on him. I think he's going to be a good player, especially in his first year whenever he does get drafted, whatever team. But anyways, speaking of humbling people that you were talking about, as far as the American NBA, basically their players, as we move on, let's go ahead and talk about the All-Star announcement because, totally humbling, right? So we got the All-Star starters have been announced. Let me pull up the screen here. And let me see. Pull it up here. Okay, for the West, we got SGA, deservingly. Luka, LeBron at captain. I was like, at center? And then KD, and to finish off the West starters is Jokic. For the East, we got Dame and Halliburton, Tatum, Giannis, of course, is the captain as well. And finish off on the East is Embiid. CJ, which one are you happy with as far as the starting selection?
Which one am I happy with? I mean, everything is good except the start. Damian Lillard. Obviously, Jalen Brunson should be the All-Star starter this year. He's having a better year than Damian Lillard. Numbers-wise, in terms of impact, he's been on a tear these last 2 months. Had a slow start, to start the season, but that was only for a week or so. Outside of that, he's been playing high level. He's career high and from the 3-point land, career high in assists. Knicks are one of the best teams in basketball. I mean, they're 12-2 since the calendar year in the month of January. He's just playing better basketball, man. They matched up on Christmas Day. Brunson had 38 and pretty much dominated. Lillard had 41, had another 41-point game the other time they went up against each other. So just his impact and what he's able to do for this team since he's became a Knick, I think he's a superstar, in my opinion. We came on here and last year in November, and I said that I think he's a superstar, and my opinion stays the same. Just his impact, what he's able to do on the court. There's a lot of people that said the reason why he didn't get voted in was because of the votes from the fans, and I promise you, Knicks fans voted for him, but casual fans are not going to vote for him. He doesn't have a signature shoe. He doesn't have, Brunson has 300,000 followers on IG. Lillard has 10 million. So it's just a different atmosphere in terms of, popularity. I think it's a popularity contest. And you got the media, you got the fans in the media, you got the people in the media. They're saying it's Knicks fans' fault that Brunson didn't become the starter. It's no sense at all. The job of the media, not even the sports media, just in general, is to relay information to the public, right? But to make it specific in terms of sport, in terms of basketball, their job is to spread light and talk about players that maybe casuals don't really know, and talk about their impact and talk about how well they're playing, whether it's a small market team or a big market team. It shouldn't matter. It's the fact that, are they playing well? Are they doing the things necessary to help their team win basketball games? It doesn't matter if they're shooting threes from half court or dunking on a whole bunch of people. You need to talk about great players. Talk about the great players. And over these last 2 years, you just look at the media, Candace Parker and Becky Hammond saying that Brunson's too small. and things like that. Gilbert Arenas saying the Knicks need a star. Well, the Knicks already have a star. His name is Jalen Brunson. I think for Gilbert Arenas, he's a little jealous because you look at Gilbert Arenas' rise, came off the bench in Golden State, then got an opportunity to play in Washington and help lead Washington to some winning seasons. And Brunson's career is kind of the same thing a little bit. Started in Dallas, came off the bench, then got an opportunity to play in New York and help his team win. So is there some jealousy there? I don't know. I really don't know, but I still feel like
you know your camera's on, right?
I still feel like at the end of the day, you gotta spread the truth. You gotta talk about what's right. And like these guys, it's so funny with these basketball players, right? Because when they were playing, they had so much to say about the media, and then when they become the media, they do the same thing that they were complaining about when they were playing. It's so weird. It's so weird to me, and the hypocrisy is incredible with these guys. And then as soon as you critique them, they'll say, "Oh, I played and you didn't." You know, they're weird like that. They're so weird. So listen, man, this guy should be a starter, no doubt about it. Everybody sees it. You could you guys, Stephen A. Smith. I mean, this guy's a New Yorker, right? He's from New York, but all he does is keep hyping up Donovan Mitchell. when you got a guy that eliminated Donovan Mitchell the last 2 years in the playoffs, like it's just mind-boggling to me, bro. Like he keeps bringing up, and I like Donovan Mitchell. He's a really good player, and he's doing great for the Cavs, minus Garland and Mobley, averaging 28. He's having a hell of a season. He's going to be an all-star too. But every time you talk about the Knicks, you say, yeah, Brunson's good, but they should go get Donovan Mitchell. I'm like, what? But this guy just eliminated Donovan Mitchell the last 2 seasons. Yeah. So I outplayed them. Like not even just like it's not even like they had a back and forth where one played well. And like Donovan Mitchell played terrible in both of those series when he was matched up against Brunson. So it's just weird. I mean, these guys are weird. It's just what it really is. And I'll just end it here is when the Knicks were the laughing stock, the media is all over it. It's easy to make jokes and laugh because you can get clicks, and people are gonna watch it. But when they're actually playing well, they don't match that same energy when they were a bad team, and that just speaks to the lack of logic and just the weird mindset from the media. And I think again, it's platforms like us and other platforms that come from the bottom, don't come from this traditional way of thinking. When we analyze the game of basketball, just need to continue to grow and keep things going, because you let these guys and remember these are people that vote for all NBA and this is people's money that we're talking about. And when you talk about it, and then when you watch them talk about the game on TV, it's a lot of questions. It's a lot of questions. So
I want to ask you on the personal side, if you don't mind here, because Dame, a lot of people know Dame had a few good runs, of course, with Trailblazers, whatnot he did there, the great shooting that he did, few rap albums that he came out with. He was on the face of 2K 1 year as far as my career and everything on that. So he's known and he's a likable guy. Brunson, I don't really feel like I've seen him much in the media, or at least out there in stories or on social media or anything. Is he kind of more a quiet guy?
Yeah, he's more reserved. Like, he'll tweet some things here and there. He does post stuff on IG. But again, it's like you don't see Jokic. Jokic is not on social media. Kawhi is not on social media.
True.
Luka's not really on social media like that.
But Luka's been on Dude Perfect. We love Dude Perfect.
And he's been around. He's been around for a long time. But again, it's for Brunson, his path is different. And honestly, like when the media's job is to create stories, and what better story is Brunson's story? I mean,
we love a Cinderella story, and I agree with you. Like, let's be honest, SGA is another one that's kind of fits this category.
Yeah, absolutely.
Been doing this for 3 years now. This is like the third year, and now he's getting MVP looks. So no, and
they're winning because
they're winning.
Team success, individual success he always had, but the team success didn't match that. Now both are intertwined, so now he's getting the love. But for Brunson, it's been this. I mean, this has already been 2 years where the play and the team success have honestly. I don't count Dallas because he came on the scene in the postseason. But like I said, the last 2 years, he's been playing well. He didn't even make the team last year, and I felt like the way he played the first half of the season, he should have definitely been a starter over someone like Dame. And like I said, his story is different. 2018 draft class. I don't want to go back to Ayton, but nobody even talks about Ayton because the rest of the people that went after him was so much better. Luka, Brunson, SGA, Michael Porter Jr., Trae Young, McCall Bridges. I mean, that draft class is so good that everybody said, "Oh yeah, DeAndre Ayton was there." Like, no one really talks about that, but usually when you talk about a number one pick, he doesn't get the same type of criticism as other past number one. A casual would think Luka went number one in that draft class. They wouldn't even think that Ayton went number one. But yeah, like I said, Brunson was the best player in that collegiate year that year. They won the national championship. He won most outstanding player. Won the Bob Cousy Award over Trae Young. And he was the same height as Trae Young, but Trae Young went fifth, and Brunson went in the second round. So, and look where he's at now. I mean, to me, he's light years better than Trae Young. So, it's just.
How do you feel about that?
What happened?
I said, how do you feel about that, Nick?
We're talking hoops, man.
Hoops, bro. It's just hoops. So, like I said, he doesn't have the signature shoe, and he's not on the cover of everything. But also, I think it's on the Knicks too. The organization, they need to promote him more and promote him a little bit better. I mean, you are in the Mecca, you are in Times Square. I mean, you're right by Times Square. You're on 33rd and 7th, right in the heart of Manhattan. Like, he needs to be everywhere, in that market, so more people can understand and understand his greatness.
All right, Nikolai, what do you think on these two teams? Who's the odd man out, or you just talk about what you think on the two starting teams here.
Well, let's just get it out the way. Damian Lillard should have not been a starter, and I understand. He's one of the best point guards in the game. We all know his history of what he did at Portland and everything. And I'm not saying that Dame has been bad this year, but Dame has not been the best point guard in the Eastern Conference. So I definitely agree with CJ. That spot should have been Jalen Brunson's. I'm not sure why they keep doing this to him, because he didn't even make the All-Star game last year. And if he doesn't make it this year, we got to riot. Like, I'm just going to call it what it is. Like, we got to riot because it's just ridiculous at this point. But overall, for the All-Star spots, I'm not mad at it. Or besides the Dame thing, I'm not mad at the rest of the crew. It's funny. Last year we were arguing because I picked Steph to start last year, and now this year he's not even starting. So it's actually funny about that. But now, give kudos to SGA and give kudos to Luka. Those are two MVP candidates in my eyes. In the backcourt for the Western Conference, so you can't be mad at that. Then on top of that, I mean, obviously Bron. It's funny because I see people on the timeline they actually have a problem with Bron being the leading vote getter. I'm like, what do you expect? What are you expecting from the face of the league, like for him to be a leading vote getter? And then of course KD and Jokic being able to ramp up the 5 for the West. I hope Halliburton's healthy because I know he's been hurt recently. I hope that he's healthy enough to be in an All-Star game. But if not, if he can't play for some reason, obviously because of his injury, starting spot. I mean, I know that may be a small backcourt, but if you want to add Brunson in there, that'd be cool. Tatum, of course, that's a no-brainer. Same thing with Giannis and Embiid. So I'm excited for both. I'm just more so happy that we're getting East versus West again. I don't know why.
I couldn't remember if they switched it this year.
Yeah, they went back to it this year. Why, I don't know, but honestly, I'm not mad at it. I love the traditional thing, and I'm not saying that picking the teams wasn't fun either, because I love seeing Team LeBron go up against Team Giannis or whoever. That was cool. But now we get to go back to the best of this conference and the best of that conference, and we get to see some great matchups. So I'm excited about that. Overall.
All right, I'm going to ask you guys 2 quick questions on this. Don't need the graphic on here. Maybe 2 quick questions. How do you all feel about jerseys coming into the All-Star? I'm old school. I like the home.
Are you talking about like the original jersey, like the team jersey?
Yeah. I'm for the home, your team away jersey, and
is that what they're doing this year?
I don't know. I'm just saying that. Like, which one do you all like, or do you all like the wherever the city? I think it's at Pacers this year doing something with their colors.
Yeah, Indianapolis.
Kind of doing the scheme of a home and away jersey for them. I'm old school. I love the 90s where you had your own jersey that you wore out there.
Well, it's weird because it wasn't always like that though. Like it's like because I remember going back watching like the '92 All-Star game and like they had like actual East and West jersey, but then you go and watch the '98 All-Star game and it's like you got MJ wearing the Bulls jersey, you got Gary Payton wearing the Sonics jersey, and then they stayed there for like a few years. So it's crazy because I used to hate it. I remember I just used to hate it so much, but then I was like, it's not too bad. But I'm sure with what the NBA is doing, I'm sure they're going to have some East and West jerseys. I don't know if they'll ever go back to just like, you wear your own jersey.
Yeah, I don't think they'll ever go back to that. The colors are red and blue this year. I did see the jerseys. I'm not going to lie. Nike has done a terrible job with the jerseys over the last few years.
Yeah.
It's even difficult to buy an All-Star game jersey. Fanatics has pretty much taken over the sports jersey, world. And they're not the best in terms of service and things like that. But yeah, it's Jordan is the logo on the top left of the jersey, and like I said, it's red and blue. I do like that they went back to the East-West thing. Kind of the draft pool. They were saying that players was feeling a way about being drafted last and all this type of stuff. So what does that even matter? But yeah, I do like the fact they're going back to the traditional way. And for that throwback, like I wouldn't mind that. But I could also see from a perspective it could be a little confusing as well. But you could just wear home and away to your specific jersey. But again, just the NBA, that's one thing like where they lack creativity. I think when it comes to the All-Star game, they did add that, the draft situation thing where they try to spice it up. But in terms of the jerseys, man, it's been terrible. I will say that. When it was Adidas and when the NBA just had their, kind of, when it was Adidas and Reebok, it was much better. But as of late, it hasn't been great. Like I have a Westbrook jersey from I think 2020, the 2020 All-Star game, and it's like that was like one of the best jerseys like Nike made since they took over, bro. It's crazy.
I'm trying to think. The last jersey that I did have, I think it was I'm going to show my age here. My senior year of high school. I think it was 2004, and it was the half blue on top and the half red on the bottom. Now those were nice. Again, I'm just going to kind of repeat here. Like the last few years, they have been trash. That's all you can really say. But let's go ahead and move on over to our next topic, as we will be remembering Kobe Bryant. We all, of course, know what basically the Memorial Day this past week and everything. But we do have a clip here that we're going to play for you.
30-point game. Kobe reverse slam to Stone. Foul on Bonner. Lakers ball inbound. Alongside.
Lakers are smart. They won't want to get into that kind of a pace.
Ball halfway through the season is Kobe.
Really a very weak zone. If the Lakers are patient, they're going to get any shot they want.
Here's Kobe. Awesome is working with Milwaukee, then down in Houston. He's one of those guys that everybody wants, but doubles. It's a double-double just about every night. Kobe is back in and not a moment. Devin George guns it to Min. Little backdoor. Kobe scores on the slam. And knocks down the three with regularity. Kobe trying to cancel back for two. Did I do it?
Yeah.
Is it my fault? The scoreboard says 60-49. We have
And Lamar has to get going. All of the Lakers have to get going offensively.
Kobe has been going. They not get this yo-yo in the dribble and stops at the top of the key. The other night for most of the game.
Yeah. Well, they're giving him the ball to see if he can add to it.
Yes, he does. Right now.
That tells you what the Lakers are doing defensively.
Kobe again. Kobe. Still 6.5 to play in the third. He pulls up for a three. Yes. Life in the league. Here's Kobe trying to move around Mo Pete. trying to put him up. Finally shoots, counted in the foul. You talked about him being in one of those zones. Yeah. He's definitely in it right now. Kobe's got 44. Kobe again, yes sir.
And he has been on an absolute.
Kobe all the way. Reverse layup is good. 22 on the night. Knocked away by Kobe. Great hustle by Kobe. He's going to score. Slam dunk, Lakers lead. No doubt right now. Great pass. Kobe alone.
Toronto, and they come up.
Boy, that was just terrible defense.
That'd be helping right now defensively, so he'll take the 15-footer.
He gets pushed from behind by Boss.
Kobe goes straight to the dribble in the lane, lay it up and in. Kobe with it now. Lakers lead 105-96. Another three. Kobe Bryant. Bosh. For three again. Yes! And Kobe's hand. Kobe guarded by Mo Peterson. Kobe pump fake for two. Kobe's got the Laker red. So,
well, I guess you do.
I see your point, though. Kobe down the middle, throw it up and in by Kobe Bryant tonight against the Toronto Raptors. Going nuts. Kobe all the way. Kobe put it
Everybody
up.
should stand it on offense.
Foul. Two coming to get to 80 and 81. Bryant for 80.
You know what's crazy? He don't even look tired.
Did I miss anything while I was gone?
Oh, just another one in many.
Oh, okay.
Kobe Bryant, 28 for 46 from the field. This would be 18 for 20 from the line and an 81-point game.
Ooh, that looked old.
Wow, man. Wow. Just the shot, the elite shot creation. The tough, making tough shots. The Raptors defense it was terrible. But at the end of the day, you still got to execute. And that's similar to what I was saying earlier about Embiid and Luka. Like, yeah, even though when you have those type of games and you feel like it's your night, you still got to have a level. You still got to stay level-headed and stay calm. You don't want to get caught up and do too much and get in your own way. Like, unfortunately, what we saw with Cat in that fourth quarter against the Hornets. And this is just like, I remember this game growing up. This is, one of his great performances. Tragically passed away 4 years ago on the 26th. It's still crazy to this day to think about. R.I.P. to Kobe, his daughter, everybody involved in that crash. Just an unfortunate situation that occurred on that day. But, just his legacy is just, of course, with what he did on the court, but also just the type of mentality and the type of mindset you need to have in order to succeed, not just in sports, but also in life. And, it was just, for him to be here for 41 years and to watch him play for, about, 2 decades. And even when he was doing post basketball, winning an Oscar, doing a multitude of things, having a book, starting a book and things like that, a book company, the detail from the mind of Kobe Bryant.
I missed that, man.
Like that was, those were great. I mean, I still watch those.
It's crazy because I think afterwards, like, they tried having different dudes. Like, I know they had KD on for an episode and all that, but it just wasn't the same.
It's not the same. Yeah, it's not the same because it's not the same, man. Just Kobe's IQ was such high IQ, man, and it's just tough. It was tough, man. I remember that day. Like, my boy called me and he told me, I was like, no way, bro. Like, you're trolling. Like, I was like, there's no way you're trolling. And I went on Twitter and then found out, I was like, wow, this is crazy. This is crazy. Just his ability to just be lethal on both sides of the court, offense and defense. A lot of people don't talk about his defense and how great he was. Michael talked about that a little bit earlier. The best players, they were great on offense and defense. Like, Michael was great on offense and defense. 10 scoring titles.
Never mind.
10 scoring titles and first team all defense 9 times with Jordan. I think Kobe might have been 7 times first team, MVP, multiple time champion. It's just a legend, one of the greatest, and definitely will always be missed.
What is your, other than this game, and I'm going to bring it off because it's there. What is your greatest Kobe moment?
Who we starting with?
You. That'll work.
Okay. I mean, this was my favorite player ever. Like anybody in basketball, this is my favorite player ever. So it's hard to really pinpoint a favorite moment, but there's just so many moments. I don't know. It's like when I was young when he was number 8, but like as I got older and I really got into basketball, that was when he was wearing number 24, and that's when I just saw the killer in him. That's when he became the Black Mamba. You know what I'm saying? Being able to get those 2 titles after Shaq and everything. So I would say like just that 24 as a whole. I know people they go and debate who was better between 8 and 24. I know a lot of people pick 8, and look, if you pick number 8, I ain't mad at you because that guy was just as cold too. I mean, we just saw him, the 81-point game he was wearing number 8. So, but 24 resonated with me just because I don't know. I've been able to really just study Kobe's career overall, and I think what made 24 special was obviously his evolution, his maturity, and just being able to lead a team. Obviously, when he was younger, wearing number 8, he had Shaq and those guys, and then he had a bunch of other veterans like Robert Horry or anybody else like Karl Malone at the time or whoever it was. So Kobe was a young guy on the team. You could tell, like, there was just a lot, even though he was a great player, there was just a lot of habits that he had that, if he stuck with them, there was no way he was going to be able to excel on his own. So to watch him being able to just look at himself and then obviously just evolve as a leader, I think that was the biggest thing as well. Obviously the 50, 60-point games are great too, but just watching his overall greatness, just throughout his 20-year career was just incredible. It is crazy too, but just, reflecting on that day when I found out that he passed. So I just remember I woke up that morning, I went to the gym real quick, and it just felt like a weird day. I don't know why it just felt like a weird day, but it was still early today. You didn't know. So I left the gym, went back home, took a shower, and me and my ex-girlfriend at the time, we were actually on our way. We actually left my house to go get lunch. And normally when I'm driving, like I'll have my phone in my lap, just for certain reasons. And I just remember looking down at my phone. It was one of my homies in one of our group chats, and he said R.I.P. Kobe. But when he said it, I didn't think nothing of it. I thought he just sent like a video of like Kobe dunking on somebody or Kobe get dunked on or whatever. So I didn't think nothing of it. And then 2 minutes later, I'm at a red light, and then another friend calls me, and he said, "Yo, did you hear what happened to Kobe?" And I was like, "Wait a minute, what's going on?" So then I get off the phone with him. So I'm driving and like trying to look things up. So it's weird. Like, so I go on Twitter and I search his name, and then the first thing that pops up was a TMZ article, and it was Kobe dies in a helicopter crash. But then my ex, she's in the passenger seat, and she looks him up on Google, and nothing's there. So we're like, I don't know what to believe then. So in my thoughts, I'm like, okay, maybe it's not true. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's, because, there's always false reports and everything. So I'm continuing to drive, and I'm like, shoot, man, I'm really hoping that is not true. But then once we get to the restaurant, it's all over the TVs, like NBC, ABC, all of that. Like, it's breaking news, helicopter crash in Calabasas, yada, yada, yada. So I just remember I ended up sitting down, and I broke down. I ain't gonna lie, I broke down. Like, once we sat down at the booth, like I was like, yo, this is my guy. I can't believe this happened. And I was just gutted that whole day. Not even just that whole day, but that whole week, man. But it's like I said, man, Kobe's the reason why I fell in love with the game. He's the reason why, I ended up, wanting to really do this thing, just, covering basketball and everything. So without him and his contributions to the game, and it's not even just for me, it's for a lot of guys. Like, we see guys today that admire Kobe, Jason Tatum, Devin Booker, and so many other guys across the league who grew up idolizing Kobe just as much as me. So, its impact, and it's crazy too, because even though it's been 4 years, it's like, we still talk about Kobe as if he's still here physically. Like, what I'm saying? And I think it's going to be like that for a long time to come. I think he just had that type of impact. So, Kobe, like I said, Kobe will always be my favorite guy, my favorite player in the world. And, that'll never change.
Facts. I think favorite Kobe moment. I think winning that 5th title, definitely. And then just how that game was going too. He wasn't having the best game. He was relying on his teammates. Artest hit that big 3 on the right hash, the right wing. To kind of seal it and put it away. And to win that 5th one more than Shaq. to win 2 without Shaq, 2 Finals MVPs, to finally get over the edge and defeat Boston after losing to Boston in 2008. I think that one really cemented him in a different stratosphere. He was without question the best player in the world at that time. And then even scoring 60 in his last game, I think tearing his Achilles, pretty much eliminating the rest of his prime, because before he got hurt, he was going crazy. Like he was averaging a triple-double at the time before he tore his Achilles against Golden State. I think he had like 42 the game before. He was going on an insane tear, and he just had to will his team because Dwight was hurt, Steve Nash was hurt, and D'Antoni was coaching. He had to just do everything possible to help the team win. And he went down, and pretty much from 2013 to 2016, he just had nagging injuries. And then for his last game, and he didn't in that last game, everybody knew who was going to get the ball. Took 50 shots, but it didn't matter. But they were able to still win that game, score 60. And for him to be around when he got both jerseys retired, it's just like I said, a special player. Obviously, him and Shaq are. Growing up, I was born in '94, so when they were winning those championships, that was around the time I first started watching basketball. So Kobe's definitely one of my all-time favorite players. And to me, he's top 3, regardless of what people want to say. In my list, he's top 3. He's one of the 3 greatest players I've ever seen. So I got him up there. Just what he did offensively, defensively, the shot making. He's just on a different class, man. So R.I.P. Beal.
I'm going to say this. I think it might sound weird how I'm trying to say it. I've really enjoyed his time away from the game more since his passing, seeing his clips of just more of how he thought, how he approached life, and, just how everything was pretty much a battle or he had to be number one. I've enjoyed those more than I think I ever would have or ever noticed, I guess. Let me say it that way. You see a lot of clips now on Facebook, on the Reels or Twitter, and just the mentality that he had, and really speaks high of his class, really, and how he performed. Even, of course, the documentaries that you see with the USA teams and the whole nine order of that. Because, well, I wasn't a fan of Kobe during that time, just because he was the West Coast and he was the top guy. But obviously, it was just out of respect of not liking him, not like he was a bad player or anything like that. Kobe and Shaq is my 1-2 moments that I think of him. I actually got to watch Kobe come into the league and become a star, which is crazy because I remember hearing so many times that, he enjoyed being the sixth man or coming off of the bench. Like, wait, this guy's so good. Why is he not starting? And it was just he was more comfortable coming off the bench, and LA was working with that. And just hearing some of those stories that most people don't think, like he actually was runner-up 1 year for Sixth Man of the Year. Most people probably don't even realize that, because Kobe used to prefer coming off the bench. I think his second year he started 1 game maybe, but then of course after that I think he started like 50 or whatnot. But Kobe, just what he had in his mind is what the league is missing big time. It's just he's leaps and bounds over the mentality. I mean, we say that 5,000 times, but man, I wish we could have in the league now 50% of that mentality, and I think the league would be so much better driven in different ways. And I'm not saying that nobody has that mentality big time, but Kobe was just on leaps and bounds.
Nobody has that mentality.
Do what?
Nobody has that mentality. Nobody.
Okay. I was trying not to be that aggressive on that, but I mean, I agree with you. He's one of one. That's all you can say in that mentality for sure. But
one of one, because people when they just think about scoring and they forget about his defense. So that's why I say that. Like yeah, you see guys like Booker going crazy right now, Kyrie, KD, those Luka, Tatum, those guys bring it offensively, but he had the same type of impact on the defensive end as well, guarding the opposing team's best player, getting stops, going to the passing lanes, disrupting the team's sets and things like that make easier plays for his teammates. It's just a different breed, like you
He
said.
didn't have to have defensive specialties because it was Kobe, you know?
Right.
The
Exactly.
lockdown guy, guarding the best guy. Like now we hear so many times, like we need a 3 and a defensive guy on this team.
Right.
Well,
When the team's best player is like 6'8" and can jump out the gym.
yes.
And you need a 3-and-D wing.
Yes. So different era, that's for sure. But let's just move on. Guys, what do y'all think about this next topic here? I think I got it. The Bucks very quickly.
Yeah, let's go.
Very quickly have already made some changes at the head of the team and firing Griffin and hiring Doc. Nick, you sound like you're ready to go on it. Let's hear what you got.
The Milwaukee Bucks set Adrian Griffin up for disaster. And the reason why I say that is because it seemed like this was their intention to do all along. I saw a report that they had been in contact with Doc Rivers since last month. So that's why I was thinking too, because for them to fire Adrian Griffin and hire Doc Rivers, it seemed like in like less than 10 hours that this whole process went down. Like that's why I was thinking. I was like, yo, like there's no way that this just happens like out of nowhere. Like there's no way that they just say, oh shoot, let's go get Doc Rivers. Like just out of nowhere. Like no, like this had to have been in the process. And I'll be honest, I was, I'm a fan of Adrian Griffin, but I also said that I don't know if a rookie head coach is what Milwaukee needs. Now, look, I'm not saying that he did a bad job because they were 30-13 before he ended up being dismissed, but I just felt like with him or even with this Milwaukee team in general, I just feel like they didn't have enough that was going to help them win a championship. But I still feel like I didn't like the way that they did Adrian Griffin. Like, I think it's a terrible look to just, fire a head coach like midway through his first year. Like, I think it's just a terrible look. So I'm hoping the best for Adrian Griffin. I hope that he can find a way to get another job elsewhere, and hopefully it'll be in the right situation. But as far as hiring Doc Rivers, I know that we clown Doc Rivers a lot. But one thing that I'll give respect to Doc for is, there's a reason why he's always in these coach candidacies, like as far as, being a team's next head coach. But, I know that he's not able to finish a job. I mean, well, that's the thing. I know that he's not able to finish a job, but every year that he's played or every year that he's coached, like his team has been in contention or became playoff bound. And I know that the playoff results have not been great, but he's always been in that mix as far as, okay, cool, this is a team that could be in consideration for a championship, like the Clippers. Like the Clippers are obviously in contention because, obviously with Blake Griffin and Chris Paul and those guys, but they were coached by Doc Rivers. And then even Joel Embiid and, James Harden out in Philadelphia remain contenders with Doc Rivers, on the sideline. Now, look, I'm not saying that I would have hired Doc Rivers if I was the Bucks. I don't even know how to feel about it, but I can also understand why he keeps getting considered for these jobs. But I'm gonna just be real. I sent y'all this text a few days ago. I was like, man, like I don't know what's gonna happen within the next year or so in Milwaukee, with Doc Rivers being at the helm. But honestly, I wonder because a lot of people are blaming Giannis for this whole situation, and I think that he does have some part in why Adrian Griffin ended up being fired. But I'll be real, man. I'm trying to be nice about Doc. I'm trying to be nice. I'm not trying to be negative.
Well, I'm going to say it.
Just go ahead.
I don't know why. Why is he the top candidate? Just because he's always been the top candidate that has the potential to lead someone. We've heard many times that Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce have always said on some of those podcasts they have that Doc told him to do this, and we said, no, we ain't doing this. So, like, these players are outspokenly saying that they did not want to do what Doc said. The Clippers had a great team, and they didn't pan out to anything. The Philadelphia, I'm going to say this. Yes, they were contenders. Doc's not there. James Harden's not there. They're still contenders. So, my thing is, why is Doc praised so much for one championship that they had a Super 4 because Rondo played great, and that team is verbally saying out loud on social medias, on podcasts, that they didn't really listen to him on some of his coaching stuff. They did what they wanted. So why is this guy praised so much?
Yeah, it's a weird situation.
He's a champion. He has a championship.
Didn't Milwaukee fire a guy who was a champion?
Yeah.
Yeah, Dan Budenholzer. Yeah, exactly.
See,
yeah,
okay, so hang on real quick, CJ, before you go. So this is my thing. So I personally felt like they could have waited a little longer to fire Bud, but I also feel like with how they got bounced to the first round by Miami, how embarrassing that was, they had to make something happen. So I can understand it from that perspective, but if that was your plans of hiring Adrian Griffin as your next head coach, I would have kept Coach Bud for at least another year or two.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I was on the show, and I said you could give him, I say one more year. After they lost to Miami, I was like, give him one more year. Also, I think his brother had passed away during that series in a tragic car accident. So he wasn't really all the way locked in. Giannis was hurt. It wasn't like they, you could make
Miami was great.
Miami had a great series. It was a lot of things, but I feel like he could have got at least one more year. I think he deserved that. Then you bring it one more year, bringing in Dame, maybe things would have been a little bit different. But yeah, this was a shocker. I mean, I didn't really see it. I definitely did not see this coming at all. 30-13, and you fire your head coach.
Yeah.
So what that tells me is it had everything to do with the situations that was going on outside of basketball, right, off the court. Because listening to John Horst, their GM and president of basketball operations, he said he felt like there needed to be a change. So clearly there was a disconnect, whether it was between him and Giannis, him and Dame. There were reports that they weren't a fan of the defense at first because Lopez was too far out at the 3-point line as opposed to being in the middle as he was last year when he made all defensive first team. And then they wanted to go back to that. And then offensively, they felt like there weren't a lot of screen actions between Lillard and Giannis throughout the season. So, if there's a, like those aren't bad. I mean, those are things that the Bucks need to win. I mean, you need screen action between Dame. This is what we were talking about when they got Lillard. It was like that's going to be one of the best plays in basketball where Jokic and Murray is screen action with Lillard and Giannis because of the spacing and the slashing should be able to complement each other. And then, I mean, if that was what was working for Brook Lopez and what got him first team all defense, I don't know why. And I get it, you want to have your own philosophies and bringing in your new coach, but you also want to make sure you don't change things that were working, right? And they just had and this happens. Teams have bad series, and they had a terrible series against Miami, and they got bounced out. Jimmy had a hell of a first round, as we know. But yeah, it was a weird hire. When they hired him, I said the pressure's on. I mean, I went back and watched our episode when he got hired.
How in the world you find that? Jesus Christ!
What happened?
I said, how in the world you find that? Dang.
It was on Facebook. Watching a live stream on Facebook, and we were saying like this. I mean, this is a lot of pressure for a rookie head coach. There's a lot of you getting a team with Lillard and Giannis. You got to make things happen. And from a win-loss record, I mean, 27 games above 500 is pretty damn good. But again, like I said, I just think the philosophies didn't mesh between the team and the coach. And, it may not make a lot of sense to us outside looking in, but for the people involved in the organization that are there every single day, they clearly felt that was the best decision. Now for Doc Rivers, 3 words: this is it. Like if this doesn't work, I mean, just look at the talent this man has coached. And let's just say the last 16 years, because people forget he was the head coach of the Magic when they had T-Mac and Grant Hill. Now I know those guys got hurt, so I guess if you want to give him a pass for that, even though he did blow a 3-1 lead back then.
Nah, ain't no excuse.
I mean, Grant Hill. They were supposed to be that dynamic duo.
They were,
but Grant Hill got hurt. So I mean, I guess
also don't people forget about this story. Tim Duncan could have been on Orlando, but he wasn't because of Doc Rivers.
because something about a dinner or something like that. Or
Wouldn't let his family
flights.
on the plane.
Yeah, his wife or somebody couldn't get on the plane or something like that. It was crazy.
Tim freaking Duncan. No, you can't do it.
Yeah, so listen, like he's coached a lot of great players. We know about the Boston years, but the Clippers, he did transform that organization. That organization was a laughingstock, clearly one of the worst organizations, franchise in sports. When they had that other guy, not even gonna say his name, owning the team. And then, he comes in and, he did a good job. They had a couple 50-win seasons, but ultimately, same thing that we're talking about now. Chris Paul and Blake couldn't stay healthy.
People forget he coached Kawhi and PG too.
But they blew a 3-1 lead against the Rockets. Insane. I remember that series like it was yesterday when they blew that lead to Houston, to Dwight.
I was happy. I was happy. You know why? Because the Warriors were on their way to the conference finals, and I was like, I don't want to see the Clippers.
And yeah, it was just a weird situation, man. This guy's coached some of the best players of all time, multiple Hall of Famers. I want to say like 10 Hall of Famers he's coached. Maybe more than that. So here we are. Definitely more than that.
Yeah.
So here we go again. He gets an opportunity after just being the head coach of the Sixers last year with Harden and Embiid. Now you get Dame and Giannis halfway through the year. So you bring in a new coaching staff. It's going to be an adjustment, but this is his last. This is his last coaching stop in the NBA. This is his last coaching job in the NBA. No doubt about it. I know he's well liked amongst organizations and league circle, which is cool. But when you look at resume and you look at how he's blown 3-1 lead, 3-2 leads, his record in the playoffs hasn't been great. He reminds me a little bit of Tibbs in his inability to adjust in certain situations, which is you lose those 3-1 leads because you don't adjust.
That's ironic because those two were on the same coaching staff in Boston.
In Boston, yes.
Tibbs is under Doc Rivers.
Exactly, bro. Exactly, and that's why Thibodeau has a record 10 games below 500 in the playoffs. But that's a different discussion.
Well, let me ask you this: Doc Rivers. We know how long he's coached. We know all of his teams. What do you think his in-season coaching record is? Percentage?
I'm sure it's good.
Yeah, I think it's like probably like 67% or something like that.
What do you think, Nick?
I'll probably say around the same.
Of course you would.
I mean he does have a lot of 50-win seasons, so it wouldn't surprise me.
He is 590.590, so 59% winning.
Okay.
I would have thought that'd have been higher, like you, 65.
Well, I mean, those Orlando teams, I mean, they were contenders, but they weren't like title favorites around that time. And then people forget
67 might have been a little high.
And then people forget too, he was coaching those Clipper teams like right after Blake Griffin and Chris Paul, like right before they got Kawhi and PG and those guys, when they had a young SGA, they had Lou Will, Patrick Beverly, and those guys.
Not that I'm trying to argue with you, but his very first year coaching the Clippers, he went 57-25.
Well, I mean, that was Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, Jamal Crawford. A lot of he had great players at the
first
time.
Year. That was the very first year there. So there was no really in between. Like there's no oh man, we gotta calm the storm before.
Well, no, I'm talking about in those later years. People forget this was like 2016, 17 whenever Chris Paul left to go to Houston and Blake Griffin went to Detroit. It was like a 2 or 3 year stretch where they were kind of rebuilding, like right before they got Kawhi and PG.
I mean, 2015 they were 56-26.
Well, look up the 2018 year because I want to say they probably missed the playoffs that year.
They were 42-40. I mean, still above 500. And then they were 48-34. I mean, then the year after that they were 49-23. So I mean,
like I said, he's a regular season merchant.
What do you think his win percentage is in the playoffs?
Oh God, we're not even gonna go there.
I think it's probably like a little bit over 500, probably.
What do you think, Nick? I'll bet right there too.
I'll probably say exactly 500.
It is 516, so 52% basically.
Yep. Yeah, a little bit over 500, man. I mean, when you get a lot of 3-2 leads and things like that, that's why I just put that together, bro. Like
People forget too, like that,
and you lose them. You go now. You're down. Now you lose the series 4-3. You got a bunch of those. So definitely somewhere around 500.
What's
bro.
crazy
Right.
is
And people forget too, though, like that year that they won the title, like they were being pushed to 7 games in like two or three different series. Like I remember they played the Hawks, they had to go to 7 games. I think that year they played Cleveland as well. They had to go to 7 games.
Yeah,
crazy.
they won all those games at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Luckily.
His 5 years with Orlando in the playoffs, he was 33% at winning, and that was 5 wins to 10 losses in his 5 years. In his 9 years with Boston, he was 56% winning. That was 59 wins, 47 losses. In his 7 years with the Clippers in the playoffs, was 46% at 27 and 32 with the Clippers.
And he blew 2-3-1 leads in that his time with the Clippers, the Rockets and the Nuggets.
Yep. And then his 3 years with Philly, of course, we know another 3-1. He was 57% at 20 and 15.
Did he go 3-1 lead in Philly?
No, 3-2 lead. 3-2 lead.
Yeah, 3-2 lead. Yeah, against Boston.
I thought it was 3-1. Are you sure?
And then
it was 3-2.
Okay.
And then the Hawks too, right?
He coached the Hawks?
I mean, the Sixers. I'm sorry, when they went up against the Hawks.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, they were up 3-2.
Yeah. They were up 3-2 that year. Yeah.
Damn, Doc. Come on, Doc.
Yeah, blown 3-2 leads in the end.
So are you guys, I mean, I know we know the name Doc, but are y'all happy with a barely over 500 coaching person?
I mean, realistically for Milwaukee, I mean, they needed a veteran guy. I mean, if you go from a rookie, if you fire your rookie head coach, I mean, more than likely you're not going to hire a rookie head coach.
Right.
You know, they were looking for some type of veteran guy with some experience, and I mean, you can't bring Budenholzer back. That'd be a weird.
We're sorry. We were wrong.
There really wasn't anyone there available at this stage of the season. You know, there was some reports about Van Gundy and things like that, but I don't think he's trying to
Stan Van Gundy.
Yep.
Nah, Jeff.
Okay.
Yeah. But
what I heard, did you all hear where they didn't even talk to Giannis about hiring him?
I didn't see that.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
I seen it reported. That's why I thought, man, that would be, if that's the case. I thought Nick was.
But that's the thing, because it's like I think Giannis is. I mean, I'm not gonna say he's a big reason behind Adrian Griffin got fired, but they would have not made that decision if they didn't get Giannis's approval.
Yeah,
that's what I would have thought. Otherwise, Giannis is out.
Man, it's damn near Giannis's team, man. I mean, it is Giannis's team. It's a small market. They got to keep him happy.
Exactly.
But there were those type of decisions about him. Hey, we're bringing in Doc Rivers. What do you think? Probably a good coach. There's some really good things, and that's what they've done. But from a basketball perspective, offensively, they were playing great. I think they were top 5 in the league in offense. Defensively, 21st.
It's terrible, yeah.
So again, like I said, from a philosophy standpoint and things that were happening from an X's and O's, it just wasn't meshing with Adrian Griffin. Even bringing in Doc, let's break the team down. They have a small backcourt. Like Malik Beasley's having a career year.
I was gonna say.
He's having a career year shooting from 3. He's having a great season, but he's not a defender. Dame's not a defender. So your starting backcourt can't guard anybody.
In the era where they shoot threes.
You said in the area with dribble penetration and shooting threes. Those guys aren't defending anyone.
And that's exactly why I said, people are going to realize how much Drew Holiday meant to that team, especially defensively.
Yes, especially that. And then when you don't bring anybody in to at least replace some of the production that he had, that it makes that situation even worse. Chris Middleton is not what he was. Shut out Nick. Because Chris Middleton is not the same player. He's just not. He's not the same guy that he was when they won the championship 3 years ago. So he's not bringing that same, the defensive value that he might have brought 2, 3 years ago. So now you have your point guard to your small forward position that are on the minus side on defense. Yeah, that's asking a lot of Giannis and Brook Lopez to kind of hold it down defensively. Bringing in Doc Rivers is not going out there, sliding his feet. So it's like, to me, that's a personnel situation. What are they going to do at the trade deadline to make a move? They really don't have a lot of assets. They gave up majority of their draft picks and assets to Portland to try to get Dame, right? Who from a roster standpoint, who do they have? Someone that can move? Connaughton, maybe Campaign. Nobody wants the Nassus, but he's not going to get moved anyway because that's brother. It's just facts, bro. He has no value. He doesn't play. It's like
Giannis has 3 contracts on that team, right?
Yeah, it's crazy to me how they need like an athletic wing that can play defense. And I don't know. I guess I don't get it. I don't get it. I feel like they specifically need that, and he doesn't even get the minutes to where we can even see if he could provide that on the court. Very weird, but maybe
he could actually provide some defense.
And this one,
he could,
but we don't see it. We don't see it. This guy's been sitting at the edge of the bench for the last 4 years. So, maybe with Doc Rivers, maybe he'll get some minutes with Doc Rivers now. Maybe Doc Rivers sees something in him, or he could get some solid minutes because they desperately need some athleticism on the perimeter. Because when you go up against Boston, you go up against Philadelphia, you go up against the team we about to talk about that's on a 6-game win streak, you need guys that could defend. You feel me? So yeah,
try to alley-oop it to himself.
So you need guys that could be able to defend. And yeah, they can score with anybody, but in the playoffs you have to get stops. And to win series, to win 4 out of 7, you have to play defense. So they're an interesting team right now, and Boston's they're in their own tier. But after that, it's fair game in my opinion.
All I'm gonna say is I'm just happy I don't have to hear Doc on TV anymore, dog. It was killing me.
Yeah, Mike Green is my guy, but I definitely had to
I had to put the TV on mute a few times.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
I couldn't do it no more. And shout out to Doris Burke as well, because I like Doris.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm sure they're all cool, and that's not even just because of Doc. I missed the trio with Van Gundy. I don't know why they broke up, man.
Facts.
Yeah, I definitely had it on mute with some music in the background, man. Sorry.
Guys, can we just, Nick, do you need to go do something right now? Step away from the camera or anything? I might step out myself for this next little segment that we got.
I had to go take care of some stuff, but I'm good.
Yeah.
We can talk about this next team, man.
Yeah. So CJ, we'll just leave you to be for this next. If the Knicks are on a 6-game win streak in a row, Randall gets hurt though. Oh, what happened with him?
Hang on, before CJ goes, let me say this real quick. We need more Knicks Heat in the playoffs because every time they go against each other, it's a great matchup.
Heat against anyone, let's just be honest. But anyway,
we got
CJ.
I think we had another graphic too.
Yes, I didn't know if this one was the one you wanted first. So you want the other one?
Yeah, with the stats. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, well, let me go. What was I thinking?
Yeah, that was the first one. I saw another graphic. I did not use that one.
Out of all the teams in the NBA, the one that gets the marketed least right now, as far as playing good, CJ's got 2 graphics pulled up for us here.
So for our viewers, this is how well the Knicks have been playing since trading for OG Anunoby. To me, they're playing like one of the best. They're one of the best teams in basketball right now. 12-2 in their last 14 games, 6 in a row. 2 5-game win streaks during this run. Look at OG's impact. The way he's been playing, not even just defensively, but the way he's definitely unlocked his offense, scoring in the mid-range, going to the basket. He's just a great athlete, cutting to the basket. He's a high IQ basketball player. He's completely changed this Knicks team with his impact on all levels. Jalen Brunson, as of what I talked about earlier, what he's able to do on the court. One of the best scorers that we've seen today. One of the best point guards in the league. I think he's a top 5 point guard in the league, maybe top 3. I think he's top 3. I think he's top 3 point guard in the league right now. He's the best point guard in the Eastern Conference. I don't care who got voted in the All-Star game. Unfortunately, Julius Randle, he had dislocated his right shoulder in the game against the Miami Heat. They said the X-rays came back negative. Still no report yet on the MRI in terms of ligament damage and things like that. So hopefully it's nothing too serious. Hopefully it's a couple weeks and he could come back. More than likely, Tibbs will probably put OG at the 4 and put Josh Hart at the 3. And then, just kind of have to work with the roster that you have and just kind of go back to like an 8-man rotation when it comes to Tibbs. But this team is playing great basketball in terms of what they're able to do. Hartenstein's missed some games. Mitchell Robinson is going to be, out for the season, but might be back for the playoffs. Precious Achiuwa in the trade too, another guy. He stepped in, made some big plays defensively, finishing around the rim. He's been a great pickup in comp with OG in that trade. I mean, obviously OG Anunoby's going to get a lot of the love and praise, but Precious Achiuwa has been playing, just as well in terms of impact and what he's able to do on the court. This is a good team. This is a really good team. I think they're the second best team in the East. We beat Denver. We beat Denver by 30, beat Miami by 20, beat Minnesota at the start of the year, beat Philadelphia by 30. So, we're beating the narrative around this Knicks team prior to the OG Anunoby trade was, okay, yes, they beat teams under 500, but against teams over 500, they were below 500 against the teams that were above 500 in terms of their record. Now, this is not the case. We're able to play defense, lock up. You have a guy on the court that can, make things difficult for the opposing teams, the best offensive player, and he could also provide offense too. So now he's making the opposing team's best offensive player play defense. And hopefully, like I said, hopefully Randall's good because the way we're playing right now, hitting on all cylinders, I think we're scary. We're actually playing defense, unlike some of these other teams that you're seeing right now in the NBA. One of the best defensive teams in the league. It's just a great time to be a Knicks fan. Again, just going through the years of struggling and having bad management, bad rosters. And you look at this team right now, have a great point guard, really good power forward, and a great wing now. More than just a 3-and-D wing. I think he could easily be a 3-level scorer, a 2-way 3-level scorer as soon as he continues to unlock his game and gain some more confidence. This is, like I said, it's a great time to be a Knicks fan, man. I'm definitely grateful for these times and just got to keep it going and make sure they do the things necessary in the playoffs. But it's been a hell of a 2024 so far for the New York Knicks. You guys good? You guys come back?
Yeah, my bad. I got you. Put me back on. I don't even know how to get myself back on. Okay, there I am. But I'll say this: it's been fun for the Knicks. I've been actually enjoying watching the Knicks recently. When I saw that they beat Denver by 38 points, something like that, I was like, oh god, this is serious. But I'm gonna be real. I think they can make the conference finals this year. I think that is a possibility. I love the team that they have. They obviously, hit the nail on that trade. Acquiring OG Anunoby, which is clearly working out for them. And of course, Randall it's not Randall. Jalen Brunson is continuing to shine at a high level, especially being the point guard for the team. So this Knicks team is going in the right direction. I love what they have. I love the roster that they have, and I really do believe that a conference finals could be on the horizon for this team this season. Who knows?
I like this team. I just hate it because I know CJ don't want Tibbs, but yet they're playing good and they'll never get rid of Tibbs.
I just gotta wait until the playoffs, man. It's the same thing. And is he willing to adjust when it's time to adjust? I saw an interview with Rasheed Wallace. He was talking about it. He was like, Tibbs is a great defensive coach, but when it comes to adjusting in key game-to-game situations in the playoff series, He hasn't been able to do that, and I think that's why he's 10 games under 500 when it comes to a playoff record, especially last year. But this year, I think this team is a little different than last year. I mean, we have more floor spacing in the starting lineup with OG Anunoby, Dante DiVincenzo. Dante DiVincenzo, man, I mean, he's one of the best 3-point shooters in the league right now. I'll start from our point guard to small forward position. They're all shooting around 40% from three. I mean, you've never said that for the Knicks ever. So, and I think it's great because now Randall doesn't have to shoot as many threes. He can play more bully ball, go to the basket, get to the foul line, do the things necessary, do the things that a power forward is supposed to do. So, like I said, I like this team. DiVincenzo's been great, man. I mean, he just does the little things. Great, really good on-ball defender, great off-ball defender. Him and OG, mesh really well in terms of, messing up sets, making things difficult for opposing offenses. So, there's been some discussions about potentially bringing in like a secondary shot creator, a secondary playmaker, Brogdon, Alec Burks, Jordan Clarkson. But to be honest, I mean, I like our second unit. I mean, I think the offense will come around, but what they're doing right now defensively with Deuce McBride, Quentin Grimes, Josh Hart, I like that trio defensively. They get stops and then Precious Joshua in the middle, and the OG kind of plays the power forward spot with the second unit. I think is great. I mean, that's a great defensive second unit. I mean, just looking at the numbers, there really isn't anyone in the league with that type of second unit defensively. So they can switch on everything. They rebound well. They push the break. With Josh Hart's ability to be one of the best rebounding guards in the league. Like I said, man, this is a fun team. This team to me is. I like this team much better than last year's team because they all play with unity, and the way they're able to get stops and move the ball. It's like I said, it's a great time right now, man. And hopefully, like I said, Randall's not out for too long, so they can continue that chemistry going forward.
Yeah, but I'll kind of piggyback with or agree with Nick. I think y'all got a chance where you all could make it to the conference finals, and if you make it there, who knows? But
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for Boston. Here's the thing against Boston. I mean, you gotta do the little things to beat them. Offensive rebounds, second chance points, making sure you get the loose balls. Now, you got to do that, and then of course, obviously score and do things like that. So, and you also need about 3 guys that can consistently knock down shots at an efficient clip because they have 2 to 4. Really, whether adding White and Porzingis, if those guys have really got it going. So, but I think we have the best team to match up against them. It's to me, and I know the Bucks have Giannis and Damian Lillard, and from a resume standpoint, obviously they're better players. But from a team 1 through 15, I think we have the best team to go up against Boston in the 7-game series. So yeah, we just got to keep doing what we're doing, man. It's only January. It's not April, and you got to do the things necessary to have a good seed. We can sneak into that 3rd seed, get some solid home court advantage. One of the best teams at home this year. I think we're 16-4 at home. I think Boston is 17-2 or 18-1, something like that. So like I said, man, it's just a great time to be a Knicks fan.
I mean, I heard everything you said, but the real team that matches up better with them is making a trade. Well, they've already made a trade, and we'll go ahead and get this brought up here. Of course, the Heat made a trade for Terry Rozier. In the trade, I can't see it. Let me see if I can get it. Okay, the Charlotte Hornets are trading Terry Rozier to Miami Heat for a 2027 first-round pick and Kyle Lowry. I mean, I personally, I might be just the Miami biased here, but I think it's a great trade for us. One, we're getting rid of Kyle Lowry, who I'm not saying is a bad player, but with his contract and everything else, Rozier is...
He's old. Just admit it.
Yeah, he's old, and the fatigue sets in quickly for him. And now we got Terry Rozier, and kind of like DraftKings does here, Terry Rozier against the Celtics in the playoffs. It's come back to Batman. So, but Nick, what do you think of this trade?
I'm a fan. I'm happy for Terry because I've been vouching for him to get out of Charlotte for a long time now. This is a franchise that clearly does not have a direction as far as where they want to go. Yes, they do have some young talent, but there's not a plan in set for the franchise as far as what direction they want to go to. So, and I was more so vouching for Terry to go to the Lakers. I feel like they needed a guy of his caliber, especially after the past few years, not having guys like Malik Monk and others. I know that they got other like great wing players, like obviously Austin Reeves and D'Lo and these guys, but you got a guy like Terry Rozier that definitely does help elevate the team. But now he's in Miami, and we've been saying that Miami needs some valuable scores to play next to both Jimmy Butler and Tyler Hero. I know they got I always forget this guy's name, Jaquez Jr. I always forget his first name. I need to learn how to pronounce it, but I think what it is that this is big for Miami. I think it adds another offensive weapon, and this is a guy, Terry Rozier, who has had big moments in the playoffs dating back to when he was in Boston with rookie Jason Tatum and second or third year player Jaylen Brown, and they were able to make a conference finals appearance and push a LeBron James led team to 7 games. So Terry understands what it takes to win at a high level. He already has that experience. I know that's probably been a while considering how long he's been in Charlotte. But I think it's gonna be big for Miami, man. I think this is honestly a really good move, man, because I've been waiting for Miami to revamp, man, especially after that finals appearance last year. And I'm like, man, not saying that they're not going to be good, because obviously, with how well Miami is, you gotta always consider them now, especially at this point. You get the 2 finals in 4 years. You gotta respect their chances of making it to the finals every year. But I think now that they add Rozier, and I know that Rozier is not like a superstar and an all-star by any means, but he's a guy that can possibly move that needle, that can help them elevate as playoff contenders, moving forward.
Yeah, listen, like it's so far it hasn't been great. Miami, they're on a 6-game losing streak right now. Since they've acquired Terry Rozier, he's averaging 8 points, 28% from the field, 22% from 3, and a plus-minus of -41. So, and it's only 3 games, right? So it's going to take some time to mesh and grow, for those guys to get things together. Of course, in the regular season, again, we look at Miami differently from the regular season to the postseason because of, past experiences, like Nick said. But, how is that really a great formula? Yes, it has worked for Miami, but it's like, is that necessarily the best formula to have for a team, building a team, and you're bringing in different guys. You're not bringing in the same players every single year. You look at that. You look at the potential closing lineup: Rozier, Hero, Bam, Jaquez Jr., and Bam Adebayo, right? So that'll be that closing 5. I mean, Jimmy. I'm sorry, Jimmy, Jaquez Jr. and Bam, right? So that'll be that closing 5. 3 don't play great defense. It's kind of hit and miss with Jaquez. But obviously Jimmy and Bam, they're going to bring the defensive. They're going to bring it defensively. It's going to take some time, man. I think in the regular season, Jimmy has to play. He's already missed a lot of games. His shooting splits are really good, but he's only averaging around 20 points per game. I think he's better than that. He needs to get around like 25, 26 if they want to start winning some games. Bam, Bam is good defensively. He does a great job, and he's a really good passing big. And what he does well is excellent. I think he needs to expand his game offensively. He is having career highs in PPG, which I'm impressed by. But in terms of adding more to his game, I think he needs to add a little bit more to his game to be more of a threat offensively. Because watching the game yesterday afternoon, he'll pop, he'll set the screen, and he'll pop for the midi, and he'll put the ball on the floor a little bit, but it's not to the level where he's a threat in doing that. And I think if he was able to add that part of his game in terms of being more of a shot creator off the dribble and complement with what he does already, that'll make them more dangerous. And he's the younger player that has the higher upside because he does get better every single year. Their bench, I mean, you got Drew Highsmith, Caleb Martin, who had a great playoffs last year. This year, in the regular season, not so much. And it's like you can't necessarily bank that he's gonna have another great postseason. And that's just tough. That's a tough risk. I mean, you're asking a lot for a role player predominantly to have another great playoff series. Duncan Robinson's having a great year, shooting the 3. but he's not great off the dribble. He's not great defensively. He is what he is. He's a sniper from the three-point land. Kevin Love, he's serviceable, but again, he's older in the tube. He's not going to be a guy you're going to give heavy minutes to. I think they need to get more athletic and expand their bench if they want to be a threat. Like, yes, we all assume like they could just turn it on in the playoffs, but sometimes it doesn't work like that. Like we have seen the years where they got swept by the Bucks. We have seen some other years where they've struggled as well en route to those trips to the finals. So. They like I said, it's going to take a while for those guys to gain some chemistry with Rozier. So it doesn't look great right now, but I think again with the coaching, with the players that they have, with the experience, I think they will figure it out. I would just have to say right now, they're probably going to be playing again. That's just what it's looking like.
Well, I'll say this. We've lost 6 in a row, and we're still the 7th seed right now. So Jaquez has been out for a while.
He just came back yesterday, yep.
And so that plays a part into it because he pushing some pressure for Rookie of the Year before this injury. I'm not saying he's up there, but he's putting pressure for sure. And in the last 6 games, here's just quick stats for your big three in Miami at least. Butler's averaging just 19 points, 4.8 rebounds on 56% shooting, which is good shooting. Tyler Hero is 18 points, 3 assists on 43% shooting. And Bam is 17 points, 9 rebounds on 48 shooting. So, I mean, the percentage seems good, but for some reason they're not shooting enough. So when your top 3 guys combine, quick math here at least, 19, 18, and 17, that's what, 30, 40, 55 points or something like that. And we just talked at the beginning of the show of 4 guys who outscored that. So that's kind of my issue right now is Miami. I mean, Jaquez, he's playing very well for a rookie that we picked up. That will be some more points. Maybe it'll relieve some of the pressure back going for these other guys who can step back up on that. Can't get the double team as much. But adding Rozier adds some speed to this team. I think Rozier will actually help more on the defensive side, maybe be that Vincent factor again for us. The thing is, what I like, at least for the transition is for this trade is all you got to do is learn 2-3 defense. That's what we really care most about is our defense and then getting our baskets off of those turnovers. So once Terry Rozier figures out the schemes of what they do on that, their slides and everything, I think we'll be fine. Again, we were 8th seed last year. I ain't really worried about it until we get put out. And here's the thing. You can't come at Miami as far as what we're going to do until we're completely out of it.
Yeah, no, listen, you guys are going to be a tough team to stop. Like I said,
always. You
guys have that ability to – it's just a team you can't sleep on. I agree with that. But again, once the finals hit, what were we saying? They didn't have enough offensive power, right? So you just got to hope Hero, who didn't play in the playoffs last year,
2 years,
is more efficient. 43%, it's not good enough. I mean, he needs to get at least around 47, especially at the starting position, and then at the 3-point line, at least 37. I mean, he has the ability to get those shooting splits. And then, and Jaquez Jr., I mean, he's the X factor, just like you guys always find an X factor every single year. I mean, whether it's Gabe Vincent, Kendrick Nunn in years past, right? Max Strus last year too. So Caleb Martin, you guys need those X factors around Jimmy and Bam to make it work. So, I mean, it doesn't look great in the regular season. This is pretty much what we saw last year from Miami. And then once April came around, it was a completely different team. So I guess we're just going to have to see how it plays out.
Yeah, don't worry about us, guys, until we're completely out of it. But we're at 11:15, so we about got through this. Let's keep on pushing. Let's take a quick look at Week 14 standings. I don't think we've really done this past 2 weeks because of time. So, did I not? Oh, I got to share a different one, so hang on. Let's see. I'm about there. Here we go. From NBA.com. Here's a list of the standings. We'll start with the East. Like I said, we're at 11-18 now, so we'll kind of be quick on this. Running through the top, we'll say 15 real quick on here. On the east side, we got the Celtics, Bucks, 76ers, Knicks, Cavaliers, Pacers, Miami at 7, Magic 8, Bulls, Hawks runs out the top 10. Then you got 11, you got the Nets, Raptors, Hornets, Wizards, and Pistons that I don't even care about really showing them on their screen. Nick, what do you think about the standings so far? One thing I noticed when talking about this is Orlando is trickling down pretty quickly now. They were top 2, I think, last time that we at least talked about the standings.
Yeah, I mean they're young, so you expect that. I mean they've been through this. They've been through this before, where they got off to a good start at the top of the regular season and then kind of trickled down. So it doesn't necessarily surprise me. I don't think it takes nothing away from their development. I think that they're still a young team that's on the rise, and the next few years are going to be playoff contenders. So I have no doubt about that. But my biggest takeaway is that the Bucks, number 2 seed, and you get rid of your head coach, man. It's crazy. But no, I'm just kidding. But no, I mean, I think it's exactly what we see right now. I mean, obviously Boston. I'll be real, like nobody in the East is beating Boston at this point. I know that they got blown out to the Clippers last night. By the way, Kawhi had a crazy dunk in that third quarter, I believe it was. But I'll be real. I think nobody, as of right now, nobody in the East is really competing with Boston. I mean, of course, you got Milwaukee, you got Philly, and you got the Knicks. But I think outside of that, nobody else is really going to be up there with them. So that's just my biggest takeaway as far as for the East.
Yeah, more of the same. I do. That was a great observation by you, bro, about Orlando. Again, they kind of remind me of the Utah Jazz last year, right? They kind of caught a couple teams by surprise early in the season, and then they kind of hit a wall there in towards the second half of the season. So we're going to see if those young guys that are really talented, like Franz Wagner, Paolo Banchero, and some of the other players that they have are going to step up. They took the loss today against Phoenix Suns at home. That was a tough loss. So we're going to see if those guys step up, because that second half is where it really matters. And it's not like years past, when you're a 7th, 8th seed, you automatically get in. You got to win a couple of games in order to solidify your playoff spot. So when you go up against some of those veteran teams like Miami, like Chicago, who's been playing well as of late, even with Zach LaVine being out, you got to make sure you win those games. Those are like mini playoff games. So, they have to lock in and develop some continuity and chemistry going forward from the Magic. The Bulls, yeah, listen, I mean, we've kind of talked about them, and I see Nick sleeping over there, and I'm not necessarily saying they're going to be a threat, but I'll say, Kobe White, I think, is a most improved player of the year candidate for sure. I mean, he's having a hell of a season. 18-5, over 40% from 3. I think 46, 47% from the field. This is what I saw, and this is how I saw him play at North Carolina. This is how he was playing at North Carolina. I agree. So it takes some time for guys. It doesn't always happen right away.
There's always situation.
Exactly, situation is key, and also mindset from the guys are also key. And I think he's starting to figure it out. He was always a really good shooter, and I think if he puts it all together, whatever happens, I think he'll be a piece that stays with them for a while. But you can't. I don't think you can really sleep on Chicago. Even when LaVine does come back, because they do have 2 guys that could score with the best of them, and LaVine and DeRozan. But we're just gonna have to see how that plays. But everything else in the East looks pretty solid to me. Boston still at the cream of the crop, but I think 2, 3, and 4 is going to be interesting to play. I mean, like I said, it sucks that Julius is hurt, so that that might hinder some things. But if he was healthy, man, I really think we could potentially push for that 2 spot. But he's not. So, and what I've seen from the Pacers post Siakam trade, they've been a little better defensively, but not that much. I mean, they're still giving up like 130-something points a game. So, are they a real threat? Maybe. I don't think they are a threat, but are they like a title contending, challenge with Boston threat? I don't think they're at that stage. And Michael and I had talked about that. And then for the Cavs, I mean, I think they're the team that really you don't know. You don't know, because when you have these win streaks with guys out, now the guys that were playing well when those guys come back don't have the same type of minutes. They don't have the same type of opportunities. So sometimes when you get those guys back, it hurts the team a little bit. So it's from JB Bickerstaff and that roster. I'm interested to see how they play when Garland and Mobley comes back. Can they keep the same energy going and continue to win some games? But they have been looking great. Got to give Donovan Mitchell a lot of credit. I think a lot of people thought they would kind of spiral downward after losing those guys, and they've kind of come together and made some things work. Donovan Mitchell's having a hell of a season, 28-6, and that's a team where if those guys do get healthy and those role players play well, definitely watch out.
I was hoping somebody would acknowledge the Cavs 9-1 in their last 10. So good, awesome. All right, we'll go ahead and switch over. Let me scroll on down here to the West. Don't look now, though, but the Pistons have won 6 games now.
That was a big win today against OKC. I'll give them.
Yeah, that was a good win. I don't know what OKC was doing, man, but it happened.
I got to go back and watch. It's crazy.
All right, for the West, the number 1 team is OKC. Then number 2 is Timberwolves, Clippers, Nuggets, Kings, Suns, tops out the 6th. Then we got in for right now, as far as the play-in, the Pelicans up at the 7th spot, Mavericks, Lakers, and Jazz. And then to finish out of the playoff run right now, of course, at this current moment, is the Rockets, the Warriors, the Grizzlies, and the Blazers and Spurs. CJ, we'll go back with you first.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you could write this down in the notebook, man. If listen, I know it's a lot of ifs, man. I don't even want to say it, bro, but the Clippers should definitely be in the conference finals. It should be Clippers Nuggets. It should be Clippers Nuggets again, like we saw a couple years ago, because just they're playing great. They're playing great basketball. They're playing great basketball. Got a big win against the Celtics. Nick alluded to that a little earlier. Just Ty Lue's is one of the best coaches in the world, bro. He makes it work. He makes it work. Whether you have a play-in roster or a superstar roster, he's just able to manage egos. I think he probably learned that from Phil Jackson. Being a player with under that system. Those few seasons was with the Lakers in the early 2000s. But and then obviously with LeBron and Kyrie too. Back in Cleveland when they came back and made history. He just makes it work, man. And to be able to manage egos and manage roster rotations and minutes and scheme with those 4 guys with a lot of personality, that's an art within itself. I think it's a really underrated factor when you talk about coaching, and I think he's one of the best at that. And like again, I said I'd be shocked if they don't get to the conference finals because when you look at coaching in the West, I don't think there's anyone better. I mean, you could probably say Steve Kerr, but he beat Steve Kerr. Michael Malone, great. They both have 1 championship. I'd probably still favor Ty Lue when it comes to X's and O's. If both have talented rosters. So, yeah, man, I think this Clipper team is going to be dangerous if those guys stay healthy at the right time. And Timberwolves, yeah, I mean, listen, they're having a great regular season as they should. I just think they're going to collapse in the fourth quarter in key games in the playoffs. I could see it, and I'm not talking about just what we saw, on Monday, but just in general, man. It's not always there with them. Sacramento, they're fun, but they don't play defense and they turn the ball over a lot. So you're not going to be able to win playoff series like that. OKC, I think they're going to be a difficult team to win 4 games, but they lack a lot of size. And I think the right team with the right coaching could easily manipulate that and exploit that. So, yeah, like I said, I think Denver and the Clippers, I think one of those two teams will win the West. That's my takeaway.
CJ took my takeaway, man. I definitely believe that the Clippers are legit. I know that in the beginning stages, we looked at them, they got off to a slow start and we were thinking like, oh, this might be a disaster. But they figured it out. They have figured it out and they look scary right now. I'm thinking about a game that they had against OKC about a few weeks ago when Paul George just went crazy in that game. They ended up beating the Lakers this past week. I know that LeBron was out, but they still got a good win there. And then on top of that, they beat Boston just last night. So the Clippers are making it happen against a lot of the contending teams in the NBA, and I think that's what makes it more scary as well. Kawhi Leonard is also playing at an elite level. I think that he should definitely be an all-star this year. Everybody understands their role. I mentioned PG, but Harden as well. Russell Westbrook being a key asset in that second unit. Same thing with the guys like Terrence Mann, with Daniel Tice, with Zubac, and there's just so many other great supporting casts with the Clippers, and that they have that is making them, that's making them successful this far. I'll be real. I mean, I think they got to be. I'm not gonna say they're my favorite, but I think they definitely got to be a consideration for that, man. But the only thing that can stop them is health. That's the only thing that can stop them. If they're not healthy, then of course they're not going to make anything happen. I mean, I know for many people, they were favorites to win against Phoenix last year in the first round. Obviously, they lost Paul George. He didn't play at all in the series, and then Kawhi didn't play after Game 1, and then that's pretty much changed the whole dynamic of the series. But when this Clipper team is healthy, especially with the way that they get after defensively, like that's what makes them scary to me. So for the Clippers to be in the position where they're at right now, that's probably my biggest takeaway.
The Clippers since Christmas game, I think it's the 26th I look back on, they are, I'm pretty sure, 13-2. And that's a loss to the Lakers and to the Timberwolves. So, I mean, they are turning it on for sure. I mean, do what?
No, yeah, I'm agreeing. They're good, man.
So, yeah, I mean, this is what we've been waiting for like the past 10 years is to actually say, hey, they looking like they are the number one team. What's funny is, I think, let me pull it back up here or where I can see it. Yeah, so they're one game back from first place in third place. So what's crazy is how tight really the West Coast is. The 10th seed in the West Coast is 8.5 games back. When you go over to the East Coast or the Eastern Conference, I think the 10th place was 16 games back. So it's almost doubled. So it's really a close race. The Suns, I mean, I know it's one of my teams that they're 7-3 in the past 10 games, but they scare me of possibly flirting with that play-in because the Pelicans, you have to mention, the Pelicans are moving up this list quite a bit. The Mavericks have fallen off since Kyrie came back. I mean, they were up, I want to say, as high as 4, maybe a couple weeks ago when we talked about it. The Nuggets have fallen back some on this. I'm not worried about that at all, even like CJ had already mentioned. I mean, they're still the favorites to win it all. So I'm kind of surprised at some of these, how they're playing out. The Kings, I'm happy at 5. I thought they might be up. I didn't think the Clippers would be up to where they are, where they're one game back from the first place. Timberwolves obviously are still continuing to be dominant this year. I didn't think that would happen at the beginning of the year. So I am happy to see that the Pelicans are kind of pushing that way up. I mean, if Suns have an injury, which we know has obviously happened in the past with the players that they have, the Pelicans could jump up into that spot there. I mean, they're technically tied with the same record. It's just the Suns has the defending factor, the win over there for the tiebreaker. So, yeah, I mean, it's really a tight race. We're almost to the mid. No, we're past mid. We're almost to All-Star break here. So, yeah, who knows what's going to play out. We'll just kind of keep an eye on this. Does that sound good enough for you guys on that?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, let me see what my banner is so I make sure I pull up the right thing here. Here we go. MVP ladder. Do you have something for it?
No graphic for MVP.
Okay. Are we going to try to do the MNC picks?
Yeah, we could do that one.
All right. So, CJ La, I don't know why I wanted to say that instead of Nikolai. This is your baby, really, on a week-to-week basis. We're at week 14, so let's go ahead and hear your top 5 MVP for the week 14, so me and Nick can move around your players and still have your top 5.
At number 5, I gotta go Number 5, I got to go with Embiid. I know he had the 70-point game, but to me, that it takes a knock off a little bit. Avoiding Jokic yesterday. Wanted to see that matchup. He hasn't played against the Nuggets in Denver since 2019.
Wow.
Pretty alarming, right? I know. Crazy.
I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, bros. Kind of wild.
I mean,
kind of wild. And he was working out, doing the pregame warm up and everything. Like everybody thought he was gonna play, and he didn't play.
So what's going to happen if they meet in the finals? Well, hey man, I'm going to play at home.
It's insane, man. It's insane. And actually, the Sixers played a pretty good game yesterday, and that Paul Reed had like 23 and 14. But they obviously lost because they didn't have their best player. But yeah, he hasn't played in Denver since 2019. Now, I know probably in some of those years, but the last 2 years, like he was kind of like a healthy scratch. So I don't know what that is. So for me, despite the 70-point game, he took a couple points off for me in terms of.
That's over 2 games, so he only scored 35 points in 2 games, right?
Yeah. I was gonna say the scoring is gonna be there, of course. Number 4, I got Luka. I got Jokic. Had a triple-double the other night. Had a really good game against the Sixers as well. He's always going to be in that conversation. Number 3, I got De'Aaron Fox. The Kings have been playing really well. Had a great game yesterday. Had a pretty big win. Hit some big shots against Golden State on the road on that game against the Warriors on Thursday.
Are we about to have a Kentucky 3?
I got De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah. Top 3. Are they about to be Kentucky players? Do I need to prep myself for this?
Nah.
Oh, great.
I'm Kentucky player in the top 3, bro.
All right, carry on.
Number 2, I got Kawhi Leonard.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's fair.
I think it's about time that he cracks my top 5. I think he cracked maybe 1 week or so. He might have cracked my top 5, but he's the best on the team. That's one of the hottest teams in basketball right now. Got a big win against the Celtics. Played well in that game. I think he had 26. Just a dominant player. That'd be a hell of a matchup. Celtics Clippers in the finals. That'd be a phenomenal 7-game series. They ever link up. And number 1, man. Listen, I mean, he's the best player on the team with the longest win streak in the NBA right now at 6 games. I got to put Brunson at number 1. His last 7 games, averaging 31 and 8, shooting 45% from 3. 49% from the field. I mean, it speaks for itself. I mean, the numbers are there. The winning is there. It's not just bias, guys. It's not just bias, man. I mean, this guy's playing some of the best basketball in the league right now. I mean, if this was anybody else, they did get talked about. But unfortunately, for some odd reason, he doesn't get that same recognition. I mean, he's putting up the same numbers that your favorite player is putting up. So I don't know what to say. 31 and 8. I mean, for been the best team since the new calendar year. I don't know. He's number 1 on my MVP ladder for Week 14.
I need to hear again. What was his stats for the last 7 games?
I think 30 and 8, and then from the field, and in that he had like a 38-point game, 41-point game, and I think from the field like around 50-something%, and from 3, 43%. So I mean,
because I'm hurt that you don't have Booker in there. In the last 7 games, he's averaging 37.
Yeah, but the Suns are garbage right now.
Yeah, and he and it's tough. Luka scored 70, 73 right on Friday. Booker had Booker also took 2 losses this week. Against the Pacers and against
and Brunson won 7 straight.
Orlando, they just lost to Orlando.
And they lost to Orlando.
Yeah.
Oh wow. So I was wrong. I said that the Phoenix had beat them, but he's scoring at a high clip, but they're not winning these games. So I can't reward him for the game without the win. So
I'm sorry. All right, Nick, will you please put Booker in the top 5?
As y'all know, I never really prepare for these. So I'm just going to name some guys that I believe should be
no
in consideration.
order
Yeah, no order. Luka Doncic has definitely got to be in that list. He's been playing at a high level all year, and that 73-point game is just flat out incredible. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. Joel Embiid as well. You know, not even just that 70-point game, but what he's been able to do is dominance all season for the Sixers have definitely put them in position to continue to be playoff contenders in the Eastern Conference. Jokic as well, you know, the job that he's continuing to do. Had a good, pretty good game last night against Philly. I know that Embiid didn't play, but still ended up getting the job done. I'll put Kawhi in there as well. I'll put Kawhi in that conversation. You know, I think that it's weird because Kawhi always has good seasons, but it's like it doesn't get talked about enough. And I don't know if it's because of his personality or whatever, but Kawhi is, in my opinion, Kawhi is one of the more skilled scorers in the NBA today. But I feel like he doesn't get that recognition a lot, man. You know, when you talk about his ability to score in the mid-range, he's a pretty good three-point shooter. He can attack the basket, so I mean, he can score efficiently at all three levels. And I mean, I'm sure everybody knows that, but I feel like we don't really discuss it enough. So I'm going to put Kawhi in that conversation too. And then for my last spot, I'll put Tatum back in there. I think Tatum's been having a pretty good year, so I'll put Tatum to round up to 5.
All right, that sounds good. So let's go ahead and switch over. Why ain't it? Oh, I had to switch or share a different screen. Sorry. I had it ready, queued up, but I got to switch my screen. Boom. This one's tough. I talked about this a little bit with Nick earlier. This one's going to be a hard decision to make with
This is the one got to go?
No, it is pick 3. Of course, let me see here. For our podcasters, listen here. This is a picture that says, pick 3 players to build your team.
Oh, this is easy for me.
All right, Nick, go ahead and name all the players, and then go ahead and do your
All right, so there's 9 players listed here. It's from left to right, top to bottom. Paolo Banchero, Alfred Sengun, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka Doncic, Jason Tatum, Victor Wembanyama, Chet Holmgren, Anthony Edwards, and Tyrese Maxey. My personal 3?
Real quick, let me ask.
Okay.
Do you have to pick one from each row, or is it just 3 together?
I think it's just 3. I think it's just 3 together.
Okay, 3, good.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Luka. I'm going to go Tatum. And I'm going to go Ant-Man.
What's your strategy on that?
I don't know. I guess like the 3 best players, or are we picking like actual like 3 on like a team, like a 3 players?
I'm going to be strategic since it says build my team. Like,
it's build your team. Oh, okay. If that's the case, I'll probably keep the first 2, Luka and Tatum, and then I'll throw Wemby in there. I'll just go the whole middle row.
Okay. All right. What about you, CJ?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's what I was gonna pick. Honestly, I need a dominant big in the middle, and I would obviously tell him to get in the weight room and get stronger, so he could be go down as one of the greatest bigs of all time and one of the greatest players. That's what I would do if I was running that team. And Wembanyama, he's already playing at a pretty good level, elite level right now. Tatum, that's my 3, man. I mean, when you turn to building. Yeah, I think it's a no-brainer. I mean, you could maybe replace Ant-Man with Tatum, maybe, but Luka definitely is locked in for me.
Well, I got to change mine a little bit so I don't sound too bad, I guess. I'm actually was thinking different. But I do think Luka is a lock. I do agree with you on that. I was kind of thinking building for a future, maybe not win now, but with these 3 guys, you can win now. I actually like Chet better than Wemby in that first 3 because with Luka and Tatum with the ball so much, I don't need Chet or Wemby to not be so productive on the less amount like Chet's role already. I do think Wemby could have the bigger future with being the main person, but if I'm building a team, I need Chet to be productive as much as he is already on the little amount of shots, so I'm going to go with Chet instead of Wemby. Because I feel like Wemby needs a lot of looks. But it could be coaching as far as getting him in the right spots, players. We've talked about this last episode. But because of percentage and stuff of what I know right now, I'm going to go with Chet.
I just think about a Luka Wemby pick and roll, man. Like that. You're not. Again, if this guy puts some weight on and gets stronger, there's no stopping that pick and roll. Pick and roll, pick and pop. I mean, honestly, like Luka can set screens for Wemby because Wemby can handle a little bit.
I really want to go Sengun. I'm not even going to lie because I like him. I like his play.
So I like Sengun's play, but he doesn't play defense. He doesn't play for my liking, man. I can't go with Sengun, man. I need a rim protector in the middle.
So my critique on this, though, that we're all kind of pretty much the same is if it's Luka and Big setting a pick and roll, what's Tatum really going to be doing? Is he a really good setup shot on for the kick out for the three?
I mean, I'm not saying that would be the only. That's not the only play we run. I mean, I could run Tatum.
Whoever the big is, go sets the pick for whoever has the ball constantly.
Yeah, but I can run screen action intertwined with all three of these guys. I mean, I can run Luka Tatum screen action. I mean, that's pop, roll, and then you got.
What's crazy is you can run pick and pop too with any of those three.
Well, that's what I'm saying, bro. Like the versatility in that three. I can put Wemby at the dunker spot as soon as those two have a screen action. Somebody, the center obviously has to step up. That's an easy line.
Like that.
Easy.
Okay.
Work.
I know we're late, but I have to know. How long has this dunker spot been a word or a phrase? Because I've not heard it that much.
It's been around for a minute.
I mean, it's for a while for me, like a long time.
And it may be that area we don't have too many dunkers really, and it just you get the weak corner or that weak side, the lob side, but never heard the dunker spot. I've not heard that until literally this year. Wow. I even heard NBA radio on Sirius XM. They were talking about what's this dunker spot, when did it come a play? But they said they've heard it for a decade, but they just never know where the terminology kind of came from. I was like, you know what? I've never heard this.
Wow, bro. Yeah, bro, I've heard this for a long time. Yeah.
All right. I know I'm an outcast on this one, but again, it could be Appalachia. We ain't got the athletes that are jumping out of the gym. Of course, I say that, and there's a guy at our high school that's committed to South Carolina next year, but at the same time, like, we don't have too many where we can just say, hey, go get that, lobbed it up to him, dunker spot, which totally makes sense because that's where it's open all the time is that weak side, when the help defense rolls over and it's a lob city. But I've just never heard it or paid attention to dunker spot being mentioned, I guess. Could be that. I don't know. All right. Well, guys, now that y'all think I'm crazy for bringing that up and even discussing that the least bit, Nick, where can they find you at?
Follow us at MNC everywhere, Twitter, Instagram. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, man. Make sure to check all of our content out. Appreciate all the love and the support. Follow myself at Nick Andre TR. Make sure to follow For the Love of the Game and Love of TGB for a new episode every Thursday. Be in tune for this upcoming episode. We're talking about a particular franchise in the NBA that I'm sure people are going to get excited about, so make sure to be in tune for that.
A cliffhanger there. Also, don't forget about his burner account, Nick Andre ATRRRRRR.
I don't even know if I have access to that other account. I don't remember the password.
CJ, where can we find you at?
CJames9_ on X, CJ.James9 on IG, the hard count on YouTube, covering all things NFL. Obviously going to react to a crazy championship weekend.
Just kick the field goal.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, definitely guys tune into that. That's on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, on YouTube, on Facebook, and X as well. Thank you guys.
You can follow me, MD Lawson00, pretty much on all social media platforms. You can also follow my other show, Cats Chat Pod, which is everything Kentucky sports in the college and even just local high school level as well. We got a little bit of an exciting guest. This is coming on this week. So it's on Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. Our local grade school 4th, 5th, and 6th grade team, they're actually going to the state tournament. So we're actually going to have them on, kind of promote them a little bit, just have a fun time with that. I think it'll be a lot of fun just hear almost like a little league style conversation with these, like favorite drink, favorite teacher, all that whole 9 yards. Of course, you know how they sometimes put those answers on there. So it's hilarious. But, so it should be fun. Of course, follow us. You can go to Linktree/MNC Hoops and find all of our social medias. Link straight to it. Of course, our podcast for Spotify, Apple Pod, and Google Pod as well. Guys, we thank you all so much. Please go to the YouTube channel and subscribe. Put on that notification when we do go live. Get in our comments. We want y'all to chat with us. It helps us communicate with you, and we're here because of you and our love of the NBA and basketball in general. But until next time, keep on hooping, keep balling. Y'all have a great one, and we'll see you next time.
See you guys.